Okay, they're very comfy. Oh wait, hold on, let me turn myself down. Hello everyone, we're gonna start in just a minute. We'll wait till more people get here. A little bit longer. Hello everybody! Sorry for the typical delay, and now I hear myself somewhere. Don't know where I'm coming from, but we'll fix that. Anyways, thanks for coming everybody. I'm here today with Lightning Eagle, GoldEXP, Pat Kerley, and WolfClaw, and we're gonna talk about the past readings. and studio updates as well. So I'm gonna finally turn them up so you can hear them.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, people.
It's your friendly neighborhood Thunderbird.
Hello. Yes. Hello, everyone. It's been a while since we've done a stream like this, but it's good to get back in the groove of things. I'm Gold. I'm one of the project heads of this project, and I also voice Felix Argyle and also Sirius in the live readings. So I hope that we'll be able to clear up a lot of your questions and also keep you informed on the things to come in the future with our streams and also our recordings. Apparently they can hear an echo, Kyles.
Yeah, I just fixed it. I just
Okay, got
our link tree. I'm so sorry.
She's on top of things now, so she is.
Hopefully that's better. Sorry, everybody. Gold, would you okay, Gold introduced. Lightning, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. I'm Lightning. I was basically our new person for most of the readings from beforehand. I was mainly involved in the discussions. I am also Dogman still now. We're going to be trying to go over questions, going over everything that if you're new like I am, we can try to talk and think and theorize about things that are going to happen in the future. And that way we can kind of have fun understanding the plot, understanding different things about characters, maybe finding things that go with like analogies or analysis with different characters as well. Hopefully you enjoy. And we're going to be trying to do this, I think, try to do weekly, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully. Whatever we can do in order to talk about the recent episodes that come out. And that way you can still have your discussions. I think that's about it for me. Yep.
Sweet. Should we do Pat next?
Oh, I'm Pat. I voice the walk and talk and atomic bomb Reinhardt von Estrella, and I'm happy to be here.
Yay! Wolf?
Hi, I'm WolfClaw. My friends call me Wolf. Oh, that was my intro. Wow. I voice Natsuki Subaru and Liliana in the readings, and I'm also the co-owner of Studio Reverie, one of Kyle's over here, and a project lead. So I have lots of things to think about. Yay.
Yay. And I'm Kyles. I'm the other team, co-founder. Yeah.
Oh,
team
no.
lead.
That's the
hello. I do edit and stuff, and I'm
Oh yeah, I
super
also
good.
do edit and stuff.
Yeah. It's a great time. We love these intros. We're doing great, everybody.
Lovely.
Lovely.
We're getting in the groove of this. That's how it is.
Yes.
We all got to take our time.
So,
yes.
Kyles, before we go into more of the talk about ReZero as a whole and also everything coming up in the future,
Yes.
do you want to give everyone still an update on what's going on with the studio currently, what we're planning on doing in the future when it comes to scheduling, and also what's been the holdup and what do people have to look forward to in the future for this project going forward?
Why, thank you so much, Gold. Yes, we could definitely talk about that. Let me turn myself up, because I can see I'm nowhere near where I should be. Yes, so currently we are behind schedule with our uploads, as most of you may have noticed. I do apologize for that. There are some personal things going on in my life right now that have held us back a bit, but what we're currently hoping for is restarting this Sunday with the re-uploads, so putting out 45 on Sunday and then continuing our schedule from there on out. Once we hit chapter 48, that's the end of volume, I think it's 18 of the light novel / web novel series. So we're going to take about 2 to 3 weeks, just catch up on everything, because we've recorded up to, I believe, 54 now. So we just need some time to catch up with the editing and audio stuff, as well as getting our Discord server up. So we just moved our VAs in this week. We are hopefully going to launch our public Discord server in the next couple days. It's gonna be a couple more days still. We're not ready just yet. I have to double check a few things, so you guys don't have access to our VA section. So we're gonna see how that goes. And we're currently editing a couple of fun videos. Wolf and I finished one with Tealdi, That's gonna be out probably a bit after 48 because we have something special for you guys that we're planning. As well as we have some extra content we're coming out with. That's not just shit posts. And we're getting our VAs to start putting together their own things that we can post online as well. Everything else, we're just gonna see how it goes, and we're gonna start getting ready to prep for Arc 6 in a little bit. We're gonna take a big break off. We'll have a proper schedule up for that later on. And the original schedule I had posted on our YouTube channel never fully saved. So that's why there's no access to it. But we're gonna rework it before we make it official again. So those are our big updates. Yeah. Anything else you want to add, Wolf, that I forgot?
Not that I can think off the top of my head. Yeah, we've got extra content coming your way alongside the normal readings, of course. I hope you enjoy it.
Yay! Any of you guys in here have questions? Both in the chat and you guys in the call?
Yeah, sure.
I think you explained that pretty well, but I'll let the other guys ask questions if they have questions.
Trying to see if there's any easy questions I can ask like a chat member would, but I can't.
Yeah, somebody's saying super secret extra content. Kyles, do you have any like ideas of what that extra content might be?
Yes, so there was a request on Twitter for it not too long ago. And it's so basically a redub of one of the scenes from season 2, but we're going to be doing it in our visual novel style. So we just took the script from the sub, and then we're making it into our own thing. So yeah, it's the confession scene. I'm sure that's fine to share. And we're gonna do something cool with it.
Me and Kyle sat down for a day and recorded all of it, so
yeah,
we just got to do something special for it, and then, like Kyle said, likely after 48.
Yeah.
I don't know which one of us will be editing it yet, but we'll see.
I'm partway through the audio editing, so shouldn't be too long. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. And you know, beforehand, if anybody knows the project's origins vaguely enough, you'll see that we did some side projects here or there, some skits, some extra audio content that we were working on, and the hope is that eventually we'll get back into that. And at that point, we can't promise anything. We don't have anything definitive cooked up yet. But we're planning on working on stuff like that in the future, and once we get back into the groove of things, starting to do all that again. These streams are going to be fun in terms of mostly talking about the updates, but more than that, we wanted to have something akin to what it was before, discussions with either the voice actors or, talking about the readings and also ReZero in general. So that is sort of the purpose of this, stream, to sort of foster that sort of, community and also help, talk about, everything going on and talk to you guys as well.
Exactly.
A very good summary of that, yes.
And I noticed some people asking in the chat about characters coming up in Arc 6. Please don't talk about them here. They are spoiler characters. In auditions, we're going to be doing internal first, because we want to keep as many of our VAs as possible. Arc 6 has a lot smaller of a cast, so we want to keep all our VAs on. If we do make public auditions, we'll let you know, but for right now, we don't want to do that. But thank you for your excitement. Yay! And, Mr. Laserbeam, the confession scene between Amelia and Subaru, not Rem. That one.
You're sure it's not the famed Elsa and Otto confession? That one seems he said it's famed.
That's what it should be.
What
Kanda.
on God's green earth would lead
Kanda.
to that becoming a thing?
Oh my God.
Auto extra trash.
No!
Oh
No!
We may not be the same, but I understand what you're saying.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so depressing.
Oh my God, actually depression. Like,
Yeah, nobody can understand Patrash except Otto.
Except Otto. He's the only one.
Best boy Otto.
Only one who understands her.
Patrash is best girl, indeed, and
That
he
is
is best
true.
boy. Maybe they're destined for each other.
They are.
Yeah, we're gonna do what we might need to do is just have a tier list video, but all the voice actors just have to give their opinions about why and just have like a whole discussion. This
That is true.
why
That'd be a good. That'd
trash
be a good thing. Yeah.
belongs in A tier, and there's nothing you can say about it.
Agreed.
S
We
tier.
we need to have a stream that's just us debating who's the best Reezier waifu. That's all.
I agree.
Wait,
That
everyone
will end.
has to
That
bring
will
their
end
notes.
with broken friendships, I believe.
And that's fine. It's about time we start, scrapping. Yeah, we start working out our differences, okay?
Time to
Time to
fight.
take shots. Oh my gosh!
Yay, I
Willow
love fighting
saying
with my friends.
Look, just because Kyles is here doesn't mean you have to be nicer to Kyles, all right? We're
Wow.
all here. Yes.
Wow.
Favoritism. You're a co-owner. It's favoritism for you, and then maybe Wolf later with Wolfiana, probably.
Oh, God.
Don't touch my Wolfiana!
No.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
Any-
I wanted to ask.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
For chapter 43, because I'm mainly in this stream, we're going to be going over chapter 44 with a couple of questions that I have. Was there anything from 43 you all wanted to mention that I might not be thinking about currently? That was mostly when we started talking about, I think it was Subaru giving his speech to everybody else, and then after,
Right.
basically the aftermath. Even if it's just like talking about the speech again, is there any things that you really enjoyed? Any parts of those chapters that you can still remember? Or anything in 44 that comes to your mind like immediately?
I think what would be helpful for everyone here is, because it's not as immediate in everyone's mind, to give a brief summary of the events of the chapter and then start talking about it. I think that'd be good. I don't think we need to go over that one, but we can go over 44 or whatever.
I just wanted to see if anybody had any points to that. So within this recent chapter we had the reveal of the gospel. We also had a reveal of one of the gospels. We had a reveal that Otto was holding the gospel, actually. We also had part reveal, or we had talks about Yang magic existing and how it can restore items. That was also a very important part. Anastasia revealed the fact that she has Echidna with her, the spirit form of Echidna that is still not technically the witch Echidna. Also, we had a bit more about people realizing that Amelia's been kidnapped, because that was also a kind of important part for deciding whether or not they were going to leave those demands alone. Basically went over a lot of the witch demands. We got a little bit more out of Owl's character for 5 seconds, like we did in the previous ones, where we see a part of his character where we're a little unsure of how he's acting because he literally wears a mask. We realized that Priscilla was completely safe by herself. Also, Otto keeping an eye out for Roswaal. That was also another part that we're going to get onto a bit later. Wilhelm specifically asking for Subaru. We learned that Wilhelm's wife is still alive in a sense. A little bit more about Felix and his rage currently in the current situation that they're in. And then we have witch and possible necromancy. So, I'm going to start with my first question. I don't remember if it was mentioned from beforehand, but do we know about the prophecy of the dragon? Yes? If so, I wanted somebody to go back over it if we could.
Yes. So basically, the prophecy of the dragon is more so in line with the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, the Dragonstone prophecy is written about how the pact with the royal family of Lagunica needs to be made by a what's the term that they used?
Well, you can have many terms. It's called Dragon Priestess, I think.
Dragon
in some
Priestess,
way.
right? Yeah.
It's also called Dragon Shrine Maiden, I think, as well.
Right, probably. Yeah, so Shrine Maiden, is like the Japanese term for stuff like that. But Dragon Priestess or whatever works well. So basically, the idea is that it's not a royal bloodline thing, because the royal bloodline is all dead at this point.
They're gone, yes.
Yeah. But now a new pact needs to be made with somebody who's able to make a covenant with the dragon. And they need somebody who has the ability to do it. And I think it's specific to some arbitrary prophecy of like these women are prophesied as people who are eligible or candidates to.
So we don't know too much about the dragon prophecy from the main story. Like, we've not been told too much, just the basic vague details. But essentially, it's one of those kind of prophecies in fiction where it's setting up something for something to happen. It isn't like a foregone conclusion. Like, you can't just use the Dragonstone's prophecies to, predict stuff. it tells you what needs to be done for things to go well. Lagunica, essentially. Ironically enough, as Gold said, there's no sort of like royal connection between any of the candidates.
No, these
Except
are
they
all
kind of are.
strangers.
So, I believe
Sort of, yeah.
Krush Karsten, one of the candidates.
Yes,
I
she
believe
is.
the Karsten house is a branch family of the old king.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yes. We know this one.
Yes, it is.
So there is a
And
connection there.
it's
and
not
so-
directly related because Krush was going to be married to this.
Oh yeah, she was
successor.
also going to be married to.
Yeah.
Was it
Oh,
the
right.
second or fourth prince?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It's the fourth prince, but he was the only one left alive at the time, I think.
Yeah, he was
For
the
whatever reason.
last one alive.
Yeah.
From the illnesses, I believe.
Here's a question in this regard, because this is still the ReZero world, and contracts are kind of important, and marriage is basically a contract. Could that still count underneath like magical rules in a sense?
Well, because it's a betrothal. It's not a direct marriage.
True,
It's a
true.
it's a political thing. Is the point? I believe that Krush. It was also, I think, I don't know about this. This is just me assuming, but it was likely a political move to gain more power for the royal family. Because
Yeah,
the
it
Carson
was,
House is a very powerful
however-
family,
However,
Krush is the only heir to the Carson house.
yeah,
I
so what
believe.
happened was the Karsten house and the royal family Lagunica were raging for their marriage, and at the time, Krush wasn't really, that into Furrier, the man she was going to marry. But in the book, it kind of goes through like a thing where they start having philosophical discussions, and Furrier's actually a nice guy, and Krush starts falling in love with him actually, and then they grow up together, and because they're going to be married, and alongside of course Felix and whatnot, and she starts becoming a competent general just like her father is, and all that's happening, and then eventually of course the curse strikes Furrier as well, alongside everyone else's,
And the
also the royal
entire
family.
family is like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Krush's life is kind of
and-
tragic.
Yeah, and it shapes, which is the major tragedy of what happens when she gains amnesia, is that she no longer really has a purpose for taking the throne. Before, she was kind of shaped from her experiences, which is why she wanted to break the contract with the dragon.
Yeah.
She felt like reliance on the dragon is what's causing Lagunica's problems.
Exactly, and also, Krush was a very strong, and she had that very purposeful, like, passion to pursue the throne, right? Like, it was clear that her ideologies were very, like, pointed and understood, but nowadays, I mean, the only reason why she's even pursuing this is because people tell her that that's the case. This isn't
and
something that she
that's-
wants to do.
Which
It's
is
just-
basically an obligation, not something she's made for herself.
Yeah, it's no longer a sworn oath she's made to herself. It's something she's forced into. That's the major tragedy of her situation at the moment.
I mean,
Is
you put
that
it
what
like
she-
that, that's super sad.
Yeah,
Krush is
the thing
not
she once
winning.
would give everything for is something she's now being forced to do and has no will in.
It's
I mean,
interesting.
you've also
It
got
also
a-
adds a little bit more depth to Felix's
yeah.
reactions to things. That
Yeah,
makes
because
it a little more
Felix-
credible.
So Felix is also childhood friends with the fourth prince.
Yes,
And
indeed.
so this even complicates things more because the way his relationship with Krush likely works, he's also pushing her forward to try and fulfill the dreams of that fourth prince. So
Yeah.
he's influencing her in an unfair and kind of manipulative way as well.
So,
No one is
Yeah.
no one is seeing eye to eye with Krush right now. She's a very lonely character.
as Felix's voice actor and also somebody who understands the character a bit more, so I'll lay it out like this, right? So imagine you're the best healer in the world, right? The best healer of all time. You're even capable of resurrecting people potentially, right? You're capable of that. You're the best water magic user in the world. You're talented beyond anybody else. And 3 times now, your magic has failed to save the people that you care most about. First with Furrier, once he died from the curse that he couldn't stop, even though he tried to. Second was when Krush lost her memories, and his magic couldn't solve any of that. And now, once again, in the current time, when the venom from Capella is hurting her. And we'll get into that later. I think next chapter or a
Next
few
chapter,
chapters from now. Yeah. But yeah, that is the reason why he's so devastated. That's the reason why he's so angry. you
In a
know.
way, Felix kind of has a position similar like how we saw Reinhardt before, where he's got all the power in the world but can't do anything.
Yeah, he's hopeless.
Similar position.
Yeah.
Over and over
it's-
again in the time when it matters most to him.
And it's specifically it's that kind of contrast that makes Subaru stand out as a character in a sense compared to all the others, because they go through similar tragedies and experiences, but Subaru is a character that consistently rebels against that kind of, you know, unoptimistic and negative kind of thinking. It's kind of like showing that Subaru's strength of optimism and believing that he can change fate. It kind of, you know, strengthens and reinforces that when you see how hopeless other people feel in the world.
I think it's also interesting too because it basically makes Subaru kind of I'm going to make the analogy. He's basically a Batman surrounded by a bunch of Supermen. Everybody else around him that can do everything, and their problem becomes their mindset versus. And obviously, you know, the world's coming down on them, but we've seen the world come down on Subaru as well. And even with that happening, he has still pushed himself.
And
that makes
this
sense.
is
He's
where
had times given up, but still.
And this is where we can start talking about some really interesting things, like symbolically wise, with Reinhardt and Subaru in particular, because we can make lots of different analysis between the two. But it basically runs down to they essentially have like the same goal of wanting to be a hero for different reasons. Reinhardt's are quite sad, but essentially it all comes down to their mindset and how they differ. Reinhardt is the most powerful man in the world. He is literally a walking nuclear deterrent for other countries. He legally cannot enter other countries without causing like skirmishes and wars. That's how much of a threat Reinhardt is on the world stage. He is the most powerful man in all of the world, and yet he can never do enough to be the hero that he's told he should be, and that he's kind of forced into being. And so while he may be the strongest man in terms of power, when it comes to his mentality, he's one of the weakest. And that's where you can contrast with Subaru. He's the weakest man in the world, and yet he's the man with the most strong will. That's what makes Subaru special, not Return by Death.
Yes.
Return by Death wouldn't be special if Subaru had no will. If Subaru gave up, Return by Death would mean nothing. That's the true test.
I think
of
I'd
Subaru.
also say it's not just Subaru too. I mean, it's mostly him when we see it in this show. But even the two guys he has around him, Otto and Garth, still show a bit of this. Yeah, they're also a bigger part of. We're still keeping our mentality to try to do something better. Even sometimes they might stray from their path that they need to go down. They still kind of carry the mindset that we have to just keep going. I still have to be looking for the next thing.
This is one of the great things of Subaru's character from a fictional perspective, is that he brings out the strengths in other characters. He's a good role model. So him trying so hard and others seeing him try so hard, it makes them want to try hard too.
Definitely. I'd say so.
And that's what makes him a good leader. And that's actually why he was the perfect person for that speech.
Yeah, even if he didn't feel so, everybody. I love that everybody just went, "Dude, what are you talking about? It's completely you."
I mean, it's
Anastasia
someone
even had
that
to say
lacks any sort of faith in themselves has lots of faith in other people. That's the kind of person Subaru is.
Oh my gosh, Anastasia was like, as much as I hate to admit it.
Were you a con
really
man?
don't like that. Oh my gosh. Pat, do you have any thoughts, or Kyle's, about our current discussion here, or how you might see them? Yes, no?
Trying to think of something intellectual to say, but nothing really, you know, knocking around the brain. It's just sort of, the skull's empty at the moment. But if something comes to me, like, you know, in an hour or two, like it usually does, I'll pipe back in and say, do you remember back there like 2 hours ago? Oh, I have an answer for you now.
I'd like some good.
I guess here's a question for you that might work. As you're doing Reinhardt's lines, how does he feel to you as you're doing his lines?
Ooh.
Like, it doesn't have to be super deep. Just how does he feel as you're voicing lines? Like, I know when I do Ricardo, it's very obvious to see this as a dude who has lived his life in a sense. So typically, when problems come around, he still keeps his mind in the sense that we're getting it done. He's to himself. He's like a grown man. Or he is. He's someone that people have to look to, basically. It doesn't have to be crazy. Just anything that might come to your head. Any emotions.
I feel like mainly when I'm voicing Reinhardt, like in the last chapter I voiced him where he's sort of explaining what happened. Obviously he's down in the dumps of what happened, but usually I feel like Reinhardt has a facade on him, that he plays the role of hero, like Wolf was saying. He's trying to live up to that expectation. So he always has like this sort of distance to him that he has to be pristine, perfect. And in all honesty, when I do read him, I feel as if this isn't something he wants to do. That like he's trapped within it. Like he's a good guy, but he's trapped within the role of hero. Like he would help out, but he doesn't want to be defined by that. And it's kind of hard to get like that across in any sort of capacity, because like he plays nice guy really well, and he's probably been playing it all his life. Well, maybe apart from when Heinkel was being daddy of the year, but but yeah, I think with the most recent chapter, that wall sort of collapsed slightly. Like he was really lost within himself. Like even with Felt being in front of him and Heinkel being there with like a knife, like even though he was super fast, he still wouldn't have been fast enough. And I think he's starting to realize that like even with this power, he's still not good enough. Even though he does, you know, completely all the time go like, oh, I could do better. I feel like it really hit home. And the fact that he wasn't able to help out people at all even hit harder. And really actually getting to just tone him down a little for the last few chapters and sort of act more natural, I should say, has been interesting. Like even listening to him, like the voice that I use from is lower. It's not as high pitched when I speak with him normally. And you sort of get the feel for the character when you're reading the script. It also, you know, when you do redo lines several times over, you eventually go, this sounds better than that. And, you know, you sort of get better understanding of the script as well. Well, it's not a script, it's freaking light novel. No, it's not light novel, it's web novel.
You're good. No stress. You're fine.
But
I was gonna say, when you bring that up too, because you can only imagine being this kind of guy, you can't do. So let's say, you know, he's a good guy you brought up, right? Let's say he just had a bad day, like he just had an off day while he was younger. He can't even go to other countries without being seen like a nuclear weapon, let alone, let's just say he had a bad day. Screw off. He pushes somebody. They go flying into a building or something like that. This is typically a narrative a lot of, when they go down the kind of maybe like a dark Superman route, right? Typically when they go with this stuff, it's just what a nightmare that person becomes if they just have a normal bad day. General, and he'd be seen completely in a horrible light. He has to, but you brought up the facade too, he won't even really have a choice in the matter if he wants to drop the facade, because at a certain point it's now a threat to everyone if he's just not feeling great.
Yeah,
if he doesn't do everything, now he's lazy, not like everybody else who just gets to live their life. He is stuck in that position.
And Pat completely hit the nail on the head on Reinhardt's character.
Very much.
Because Reinhardt is a very tragic character. And he parallels his grandmother quite a bit, Teresia. Teresia never wanted to be the Sword Saint, as you kind of can tell in her backstory with Wilhelm. And Reinhardt gives off the same feeling as a very lonely person that's fulfilling a duty he never wanted. Because you have to think it from this perspective. He's had that blessing since the age of 5. He's not had a childhood.
Yeah, and
he's never allowed to be a selfish child. He's never allowed to be someone for himself.
Damn.
Can you imagine how angry you would be at the world if you were like that?
I feel that's why he chose Felt as the candidate, though. Like,
yeah,
she's such a
she
freak
wants to
spirit.
tear it all down.
She's
exactly.
so out there, and like if she does get in, the reformation of society that Felt would bring would probably change the perspective on a Sword Saint. I feel like he sees Felt as freedom he could achieve if she gets power.
You fucking hit the nail on the head again. Well done.
Oh my gosh, that gave me chills. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pat Kerley in the building.
Felt is an example of tearing down the old order, the order that Reinhardt hates so much. The one that forces him to be who he doesn't want to be. I mean,
it's almost like an expression of his
I'm pretty sure
thoughts.
Tapei said in a Q&A at one point that Reinhardt is one of the the most unhappy characters in all the main timelines of ReZero. He's
that makes so
someone
much sense.
And that brings
Yeah,
You're a
me-
hero, Reinhardt, and a hero is all you ever
you
will
can
be.
Yeah.
I mean, think about
and-
that, because it is true what Puck is
I-
saying there. When the reason why the words sting so much and why I keep on like repeating it is
Puck
because
is
it's like,
pitying him in that moment.
it is. It's pity. It's because he understands it. Like he's recognizing the fact that it's so sad that that's how Reinhardt is. He's not even mad. He even said it himself. He's like, I'm not mad, Reinhardt. This is just how you
Puck might
have
be in
to be.
Damn.
a similar position too, since he is basically, if Amelia
Yeah.
dies, he has to destroy the world.
Mhm.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
But it's
So
also
he's
it's
in a
also the fact
position.
that both him and Puck are similar in the sense that they have so much power, but they have so much responsibility, and it's not anything they can do about it.
They have the weight of the world on their shoulders, and no matter how strong they can be, they can never lift up far enough. And I love the subtleties of that shown in the trial, in the anime, in the second trial, Subaru's second trial, because as soon as Reinhardt hears that, he just completely takes on a brave face and wipes off all emotion.
And then
Because
just strikes him down. Yeah.
because my interpretation of that, Reinhardt is angry.
Yeah. Or he's trying to like suppress his emotions and just kill Puck
Because-
there.
Reinhardt's the major tragedy is that Reinhardt sees himself as a weapon, and in that's what he is. Really, he's a weapon of the world. He's the most blessed of Ode Lagana. He is someone that the world itself loves so much, yet he can never be able to love himself because he's such a lonely person. And that is why his friendship with Subaru is so important. And it's why it's such a beautiful thing when Subaru tells him things like, I'll make up for the gaps in your strength. Because that's the first time Reinhardt has ever been seen as an equal. Ever.
Yeah.
In his
not a
life.
solve all puzzle problem.
And
Reinhardt,
yeah,
where
'cause-
are you?
Yeah, Subaru's outsider perspective. It's the same with Amelia. It's the same with everyone he meets. He doesn't treat someone based on status. He treats someone as who he thinks they are.
That's
You
really
know,
good.
the relationship you actually bring up really does paint such a pretty picture. Like, even when Reinhardt first comes in, like, Subaru's the first one to pick fun of him for being late. Like, and then he gets other people to join in when others were hesitant to ask. So it really does show that the bond between those two is growing really well.
And it's great as well because Subaru is very much a dense character. He's not very socially aware and such.
No.
But he understands Reinhardt, and Reinhardt understands him because they're two, essentially, even though they come from such different walks of life, they're two very similar people. And there's because Subaru's unique loneliness in terms of Return by Death, but they're both lonely in a way, in a way that they can't control. And that's where their companionship lies. The fact they're both lonely, but they can treat each other as equals despite their differences.
All right, I'm gonna go to the second question. We can come back to this one sooner or later, and just
That was a great discussion.
Really enjoyed, yeah.
Well done, Pat.
Thanks. You too.
This is the best part. Hopefully for other voice actors as well. You guys are the characters, basically. You're the ones who get to live through them as we're doing these readings. So, as much as you might not even think you have understanding that, if you saw what Pat just did right there, wow, I didn't even think about that. Especially with the whole felt expression thing. Like, that's crazy. So we're gonna go on to the second question. Second question is probably not gonna be as crazy, but it does bring up a lot of thoughts. So we learned that Yang magic is used to restore items because we see that Otto is going to try to get the book restored. I wanted to ask, is there any items that we should watch out for outside of the Gospels themselves? Because now we have this introduced to the plot now. We know items can be restored, in a sense.
Well, yeah. We don't really have any specific items we can really talk about because we haven't had any of them show up. But there is potential for that in the future. It's basically telling us that if we get a really useful item or meteor and that thing like goes kapoof, we could probably reclaim it. But not to its original strength, I would assume.
And this is Yang magic?
Yang
I believe
magic,
it was Yang magic.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, it's definitely Yang magic. And I know this because Yin
that makes
magic
sense.
is the opposite.
Mhm.
Yin is all about separation and disassociating things. You know Shamak? That's about disassociating and separating your senses from your body. And when Beatrice uses Ultra Mark to send the rabbits in Arc 4 or Season 2 into a separate pocket dimension, that is separating them from the world.
Yes, exactly. So the thing to note about this that is that you should key into, I guess, the only thing that I can think of is the fact that as far as Yang magic users are concerned, there's only a few people, or there's only a few instances that we ever see Yang magic, and only peripherally can we even like assume that it's Yang magic being used so far in the story. One of the main culprits of this is Echidna herself. And this is about I guess, you know, I probably shouldn't say much more than that, actually. It comes up later this arc.
I just realized what you're about to say. I was like, oh god.
Yeah. later this arc, I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But,
that is something
one
we could talk
small-
about another point.
Small note I was going to say is technically if Subaru ever broke anything that was from his world, which he only really has his phone, he technically might have a way to get it fixed again at all times. I always kind of thought about that to really.
And that's something to.
He's no longer in possession of his phone.
Yeah, I know.
I
So
think
it was
also,
interesting.
I think
Go ahead.
the big question, if he did have his phone and he did get it fixed, would it just come back dead or would it be charged?
Yeah, that's
Exactly,
also a
yeah.
thing. He has no feasible way to charge it.
That is true.
If we ever
something-
find
That shit
electromagnetic,
lasted,
then
though.
maybe.
That's
Did.
a good battery. Holy
I
mean,
crap.
Flip phone lasted
Funny
so
enough-
did
It's
it.
a Nokia.
Those phones last a while. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, you probably go find one in your closet right now, turn it on, it's probably still working.
it'd like blow out dust.
3 years and it's still working.
Oh my gosh, you still have 3 minutes on this phone. Wow, I can make a phone call. I spent that $1 I was gonna waste it. Is that the reason why
Funnily
I'm
enough, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed a small little detail. Because this was a really nice detail shown in season 1 of the anime. When Subaru first looks through his phone, he only has like 3 or 4 contacts. Do you know what those are?
His
Mom, Dad.
mother, father,
The City Hall
who
and
was
Pizza
last?
Place.
Ah.
Yeah.
Those are good contacts to have.
Yeah.
When you
But
level up,
I love the little effort they put into details and stuff like that because it's really another showing of how lonely Subaru is.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
He has
Are
no
you
friends.
truly lonely if you have
That is
pizza
true.
though?
But yo,
Yeah.
you can feel that emptiness inside with the like diabetes.
I'm gonna get a $5 pizza from Little Caesars. I'm not lonely at all anymore. Who needs other people? I'm good.
I guess
Oh
the
my
last thing
gosh.
I can say about this topic is
Good.
it's more about the concept of like media, right? And magical weapons and whatnot, magical items I should say, which exist in the world, but you don't really hear about like the process of creating them. And then we learn that there is probably somebody who's capable of doing that, and they're in the city, and that's about it. So it's good to know that it's at least like connected to some sort of magic.
It's feasible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's
And
other
it's in a
people
neutral zone
create
too,
and
which
restore
is
them,
also
yeah.
better.
we can't really talk about like we can't really make predictions on how relevant that would be in the story, at least for now.
Yeah.
All right. So third question's more of an opinion piece. So we get Anastasia now telling Ricardo and Julius about the artificial spirit, which they're both in pretty decent shock about. I feel like had Subaru been like, "Oh, Beatrice is an artificial spirit," everybody there would be like, "Oh, okay." With hers, it specifically seemed to put them in like actual shock. Do you think it was a good idea that she kept it secret from the two of them, and it seems the rest of her camp? Do you feel like that was more beneficial for her, and why? For myself, I think business-wise and just being able to get things done, she doesn't have to go around anybody. They're not all having like a big talk about it. It will make her seem a bit more, the word's not selfish, I'm looking for a different word. Like she's in a different status than both her knight and also the people she hires for obvious reason, right? Iron Fang.
Yeah.
But it can put a bit more distance in their relationship, as we kind of saw for a second there. Even Julius was worried that she told Subaru first before even telling him.
Can I just go on a bit of a rant about this, about Anastasia's character?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so one of the things that you kind of learn about Anastasia in this arc is a few things, right? She's a very strong, independent-willed person, or it comes across that way. She's very confident, she's very crafty, she's very everything like that. But you start to learn very quickly that it seemed as if, she's been groomed by the spirit, so much so that like it makes sense when you connect, her name to like Anastasia's personality as well. Like being very greedy and stuff like that, and Echidna being the witch of greed. It only fits so well that this is the spirit that
Well,
is.
I mean, from her motivations that she stated so far, the artificial spirit Echidna anyway, it makes sense for her to kind of like encourage her to be a greedy person, because that's going to make her more interesting to observe.
Yeah, but like the thing is that you have to realize is that like Anastasia's presence and the reason for doing this all, it makes sense why she has this disconnect with people in terms of like being close to them in that way. It's almost like she's been told or taught to like operate in such a manner for the sake of her success as like a candidate, as like in general as like a businesswoman. And it's sort of like this weird separation from the people that she's supposed to care about or that care about her, and also her business or her desires or her goals, which seems to be, from the way that Echidna is talking, the way that Anastasia pretty much shut up the entire time, it seems as if Echidna has been the one who's sort of steering the wheel for the most part, and she's just along for the ride.
I feel like that as well. I feel like it's just having a person like this around you, especially at a young age, as far as I believe, right? She had it at
when
a
she
young
was
age.
Yeah, she's had it for a long time. Yeah.
People with knowledge already become condescending at times as it is, let alone you have somebody with you who I don't believe the scarf had like every bit of knowledge in the world, but having someone so intelligent by you at all times who's telling you how we're kind of separate. Like even if that Echidna isn't specifically stating like we're separate from other people, we're different, it still puts them in this bubble. So the more that she learns, the more that she picks up from Echidna, the more everybody else doesn't, and she's going to be aware of that. It's still going to be a thing at all times. So even at a certain point, it seems like she would treat Julius like, "Oh, Julius, you're just a sword." Like that's how it works. I'm still taking care of you. You're fine. Everything was good. I'm paying attention to it. You're in your place. Everything's fine. Doesn't say it, but whenever she talks to people, there's still always like what Gold brought up, the dissonance.
And this is actually something we can connect to the Witch of Greed Echidna. I can't talk about the full ramifications about this because we learn more stuff later in the future. But for now, what I can talk about is how that kind of mindset separates you from other people. Because you could have good intentions with the kind of mindset of, if I use everyone as a tool and I make everything the best it possibly can be, then everyone will be happy, right? But that kind of mindset is very toxic and leads down a path where you lose your humanity.
Well, here's the thing, right? It's not just that. It's the fact that, like, her mentality is that, the outcome of her scenario is always going to be mutually beneficial to everyone involved. And it's always going to be something that's helpful to them and also helpful to me, right? But the thing is, that's completely like a transactional thing. Like everything about her is about that. It's never about the actual relationships or the actual like humanity between like doing things nice for somebody just because you care about them. There's no love in it, and there's no like capacity for good. Like what she's doing is neither good nor bad. It is only like this neutral sense of like obligation or like contract, because she feels responsible to give something in return, because this is how she's taught to be a businesswoman. And I mean, I could go into a bit of the reasons why that is. I guess it's not going to be a thing that's a spoiler technically.
I think we kind of gave a little backstory on her from beforehand, because I still remember some things and I haven't read it forward. So go ahead.
Basically, the country that she's from is pretty much like awful, like horrible in a lot of ways. Like Karagi, the country that she's from, she wasn't like royalty or anything from that place or whatever. She was just a normal merchant. There's no royalty, and in that way, it might be, some people might say, oh well, it's better, but it's hyper capitalistic to the point where there's no actual laws. It's all just about money and exchanging money. Slavery is legal. Basically status in society in Karagi is only dictated on money. So as a person, like, to grow up in that country, to be able to make your own trading company that's super successful, you can imagine that she had to get instilled to her, not only societally, but like, to survive, it was necessary to operate on that wavelength. And of course, it screwed up her head. You can tell by the way that she doesn't even bat an eyelash when people are generally emotional and angry about the way that, like, she doesn't trust her closest friends and confidants enough. And when they're angry at, they're like, what? I mean, I didn't need to tell you that. Like, why? Like, I don't know why you're angry. And it's like, stuff like that makes sense.
It's such stark contrast from what we see from Amelia's camp, where whenever people hide something, they're pissed genuinely about it. It's usually, especially Subaru, because he has none of the pretense of all these rules and how to act in a sort of way. He learns something, he's upset about it, and he says it. Everybody else, he's slowly gotten to, when they're feeling like they're stuck in a place, when they feel like there's nothing, or when they're hiding something, they break down, they start talking about it, and everything works out. What we just saw with her camp was, wow, I can't believe you did that to me. Yeah, well, I mean, it worked. So, it's as much as they got. There wasn't really any sort of dive. There wasn't really much understanding for Julius in that sense. Not much understanding for Ricardo in that sense. And they both Julius seemed a little bit more bothered, but they both seemed kind of aware of, like, well, that's kind of how she is.
Yeah. Well, Julius, is hyper loyal and very chivalrous, and very, like, he's a very kind-hearted individual in the way that he acts, and seeing somebody act with such, disregard obviously hurts him because of how loyal he is, obviously. But the same with Ricardo, who is very simple as a person, but like he lives life very honestly, and he feels like he's very close and very, I would say, he's loyal as well, but he does things for his family. He's very selfless. Yeah. He has like a company, like a band of mercenaries, but he calls them all family. He's very, like, close to everyone. He checks in and tries to help them all. Like, he is a very easygoing,
kind of the heart of the
guy.
group.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So of course, betrayal like that would sting the most for him.
Yeah, I mean, it may not be intentional, whether or not it is something we could discuss at a later date, but it's a very good commentary on mindsets some people in the real world have about how they view the world,
yeah, exactly,
what success is, and how they put value on themselves. It's about wealth and status, because there's a lot of characters that contrast that kind of ideal. I mean, Subaru and the Amelia camp are all perfect examples of people that put way more value on loving each other unconditionally and not having transaction.
Yeah.
Whereas the way Anastasia sees the world is so different.
Exactly.
I get that even with Crucia's camp as well. It's the reason why she wouldn't throw them out there when Subaru was asking, because those are still very important people to her. She's not just going to throw her army away because some guy comes running over about the witch cult. They're very important. Why would I give them away?
Yeah. And there are a lot of issues that come with the kind of society that Lugunica has. But one of the good things that you can say comes from it is an idea of morality and honor. The idea that you look after the people you can. And you protect others.
And
obviously
most of that
leads to oppression and such.
Yeah.
But there are benefits and negatives to each society. But the main contrast is why characters like Subaru and Anastasia, especially recently within the story itself, have clashed a lot. Because their ideologies and the way they view the world are so different.
Very
and
much
so what Subaru is he's trying to argue from a perspective that Anastasia just cannot comprehend or understand, and she is doing the same.
Yep.
And it's why, bringing back to Arc 4 and Echidna, it's why Subaru just can't comprehend her and understand her fully, because she comes from a perspective that Subaru never wants to come from and thinks is immoral. And I mean, from a philosophical standpoint, you can argue about that, but from Subaru's perspective, that kind of mindset is evil, treating people as tools. And
I forgot what the name of the philosophy is for that. Is it just being a pragmatist at that point?
I think there's more extreme.
It is
Pragmatism in general isn't exactly as
No.
extreme
Far.
as what Echidna
No.
shows. It's
I was thinking more Anastasia when I
yeah.
was saying that. My bad. But yeah.
yeah.
I can see
Okay,
what you're
yeah.
talking
That's a better way to put it for Anastasia. She's nowhere as near as extreme as Echidna, but she's influenced by those ideas, and that's how she sees the world. And it's actually why I really appreciate the work Tepe has put in to make Subaru seem like a foreigner in this world, because his perspective and the way he views the world comes from Earth, and the way that people view their world comes from that world. And that's why Subaru views things so differently. That's why his morality is so different. And that causes a lot of conflict, which is good for writing.
Very
Yes,
good.
indeed.
Conflict is what carries a story. That's the reason why people can't stand
And
boring
obviously, you know, we're rooting for the good intentions of Subaru and his ideologies to prevail over, you know, the societies of
But
the
that's
countries.
because we come from Earth.
That's because we
right?
come from
plots.
Earth.
Very
right?
much
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Our bias is very there.
Yeah, but I do think that there's a lot to be said about the fact that, like, you know, one thing to note is, like, I think that we can all agree that a lot of the people's ideologies, like the country's ideologies and how they've had, you know, negative effects, definitely are worse than, you know, ours, like, personally, in terms of, like,
Yeah.
doing good for others and, like, helping people, and
Because
like, you know.
the standards of morality are different in that world.
Exactly,
Right?
yeah.
It's all about
Yeah.
fulfilling obligations, whereas where we come from, it's not about needing to fulfill something. It's about wanting to fulfill things for other people.
Yeah,
I mean, the perfect example of that is actually shown in Subaru's first trial, where Naoko tells him that we didn't have you for you to do something for us. We had you to do something for you. It perfectly
Mindset.
embodies the mindset that, and it's why Subaru seems so kind comparatively to others, and it's why people view him as so kind in that world. Because Subaru is a kind person, yeah, but he's definitely not the kindest person. But from their perspective, he's like the most charitable person alive.
Exactly, yeah.
As well, too, his parents are both perfect examples of people who tried to at least give their best for others. So
Yeah, and instill
that
those
was just like
values
with
into him.
Anastasia.
You know,
Yeah.
I never. Sorry,
Oh,
yeah.
go first.
I knew
You
what you
go
were gonna
first.
say. Yeah. What I was gonna say was the fact that, like, I never realized this, but, like, in the worst moments of the ReZero world, you know, Subaru was given the opportunity to get the best reflection of the world that he came from.
Yeah.
And, you know, his parents and whatnot, the familial connection and all that was stuff that he needed, of course. But now that I think about it, it's almost like him remembering exactly the values that he needs to bring onto the world that he's in now, you know?
Yeah, it's what makes his optimism so beautiful. Because
It's going to give him a lot of challenge as well, though.
yeah,
for this kind
I mean
of
that. I
world.
mean, as Roswaal says, the path he has chosen is the one that's most painful for him. But Subaru accepts that because he's someone that believes that suffering and hurting himself to, you know, make others happy and make the world a better place is the right thing to do. Because he's an idealist. He's a person that believes in the goodness of people.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a thing that they talk about in Arc 4 as well. Roswaal believes in the weakness of people. Subaru believes in the strength of people.
Also interesting too, because then Subaru is going to have to basically fast forward years of human bloodshed that we had to take to get to this.
This is
Wow.
also another thing as well. When it comes to the whole political situation, when it comes to a moral perspective, if Subaru ever comes across things that like war and such, the way he views it could be so different from the people of that world.
Exactly. It's going to be a lot
Yeah.
more difficult, too, because there's a
For
lot
him
of...
to, because he struggles. Okay, so a bit of extra context from the light novel here. So, when Subaru kills Betelgeuse, it's not really shown too much in the anime. This is specifically because I believe at the time, volume 9 of the light novel, which was the last volume of the light novel in Arc 3, wasn't actually completed yet. So they more adapted from the web novel for the anime for that part. But in the light novel, Subaru, he feels guilt for killing Betelgeuse, the person he hates the most in the world. Subaru is a person that hates killing people. It's in his moral compass. He feels it to be like the most moral evil you can ever commit, because that's how he was raised, and that's the way he sees the world.
currently in a world where people, they won't even, or at least some
Bat an
characters
eye.
so far from the impression, yeah, they won't bat an eye.
Imagine
It's
Ren
like,
in the beginning.
Because
Yeah.
it's about survival.
It was
That's-
their rule. Their rule is that's what the maids do. Everybody who was a maid, and eventually probably Petra would have to figure out a way to
And
be able to do it
it's
too.
why
That.
it's why the isekai concept, like as a story concept, is amazing for main characters and stories because it creates so much conflict in ideology. What makes ReZero good is that Topei understands this as a concept because in like almost every other isekai story, this is never a thing that's really important.
Yeah.
And it's so sad because it's a great idea that can really bolster like the ideas of your story and the strengths of your main character. Like Subaru is such a personality because he has values and beliefs that really conflict with the people around him. And because we come from those beliefs and perspectives, we root for him.
It's just crazy to think that was what put him in shock too. Is knowing that you're in a world where so many people can be that cold-blooded. It's not that they don't feel anything. A lot of them will at least show us at times.
It's that they put
it's
duty
like,
and obligation and
first.
the logic first.
Yeah, it's just crazy. He almost loses it from the fact that he's like, we were so close, and you were able to do that just like that. They
And
had a
that's-
second thought.
And funnily enough, I won't actually go into detail about the if stories themselves because that's spoilers.
Okay.
But the basic concept of the if stories, in a way, is him succumbing to the morality of that world.
Yeah,
Him
That's an
giving up
interesting
on
way
his
to look at
values.
that.
Yeah, he
And
gives
I
up
think
on his
about it.
his values from Earth to. He tries to adapt that world's morality, and in doing so, becomes someone that we would see as evil.
yeah, it makes sense.
Ironically, he'd be like everybody else.
Yeah, and that's why Subaru stops being special. Really, in the if stories, Subaru is special not because of what he has and what his relationship to all these other mystical things within the universe itself. Subaru is special because of who he is. That's what makes Subaru special.
Yeah, he's special because he's literally special, but also
Yeah.
because obviously he's different in belief beyond anyone else in the world.
He's someone that you could never find in this
and
world.
and in
anywhere
that way, now that I think about this, it contrasts perfectly with Al, right? Who is from the same world and has the same perspectives that Subaru has, but his ideology is different.
So
Like-
speaking about Al, that was
exactly.
the next question.
Yes,
Very good
brilliant
tie-in. That was
segue.
very good.
Because I actually want to talk about this with Al specifically.
So I asked the question, what do you think of Al? Why does he act the way he does? Is he pathetic as he says? Is it fear? Is it lack of confidence? Is being a jerk? Before you two go, because I know you guys are probably gonna have a big thing on this. Pat or Kyles, do you guys, before I go, have just any opinions, just what you think of Al so far? It doesn't have to be like accurate or anything. Just what do you feel like you've gotten from him so far from listening to him talk?
Yeah. Al
I
seems-
feel like he's the ideas that he has is of survivalist and the quickest way and easiest way to keep alive. Like even in the past few chapters when they were going around to the what do you call them? Like the bunkers where the
Like
people were.
bunkers. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just there because Garth were there. He was wanting safety in numbers. He was just waiting to get Priscilla and get the hell out of there. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to get to safety. He's much more selfish than Subaru. He's there for himself first and foremost, rather than Subaru, who's there for other people. It's I think it's a more common thing that you'll see in people, that they'll think about themselves first. And this is basically Al. He's the other type of person that could come from our world. One who will put himself first over everyone else. Except for...
I thought that was really good. I actually personally have a different interpretation of Al. Do you mind if I talk about it?
Yeah, go ahead,
Or
man.
do you have anything else to talk about?
Not really, no.
I was
Okay.
gonna see if Kyles wanted to go first. That was what I was gonna check.
Sorry. Kyles, you
Sorry.
want to go first?
Anything, Kyles?
Can you guys hear me?
No, you're fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Perfectly.
Good. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I guess my thing is Al seems a little sussy.
Oh, good
so-
insight. Good insight.
It's Yeah, so it's just how he's been acting these past couple chapters, and editing it so often. Every time I listen back to what Hero says as Al, it's just kind of like, why is he so hesitant? I kind of get it. I see where he's coming from because he just wants to get by with everything. And I'm still trying to consistently remember that he's also from Earth.
Yeah.
So remembering that is always something.
It takes a while too. It takes a while to think about it because Subaru is very clearly from Earth, but Al doesn't seem like it. Like
this is actually relating to what we were talking about earlier and kind of like the surface level stuff when it comes to the If stories. Al is the example of that. He's someone that adapted to the morality of this world. And the reason we can kind of know this is because of his attitude to what Subaru says before, his attitude of heroically saving people. Al talks from a perspective to him like he knows what that kind of path leads down, where it hurts you. Because Al was likely a very similar person to Subaru when he first arrived in this world. But how Al survived was by throwing away those values that used to make him who he was.
I'd say Al seems like
Al is no longer
like a broken adult.
Yeah, Al is no longer a denizen of Earth anymore.
Yeah.
Also, I just think looking at this, Al doesn't have return by death, so when something happened to him, it was permanent. He didn't have a redo that could fix those problems and maybe keep him on the path of good.
With his whole arm being gone.
Yeah, and that's why he has no optimism. That's why he's a very, not even realistic person, because being so negative isn't really realistic. He's someone that thinks of the worst outcome because he's seen some of the worst outcomes. That's who he is. I mean, that's why he's so critical.
He literally wears a mask because maybe in this world he's shown his true face, and what happens when you show your true face is you're vulnerable, as we've seen with Subaru, and that leaves you to be naive.
Yeah, I was a character that likes, as you said, right? I was a character that likes to hide all vulnerabilities and not have any weaknesses.
Yeah,
because he sees that as a potential for people to hurt him.
Exactly, and I think one part of that is that he is scared of his own actions, even though he has a lot of good in his if what you're saying is true, which I think it is, Wolf, but him being at one point somebody who wanted to do all these good things and is scared of death, he had in his mind eye what he would do in this new world once he got here, and he attempted and he succeeded, so probably at some point, and then he probably failed, and once he failed, he realized he realized how he didn't want to get hurt, right? He didn't want his ideologies to be, challenged. He didn't want his life to be threatened. So instead of, living for himself, he decided that he would let somebody else, coddle his problems, right? And that's where he fell in line with Priscilla for the most part. She's very driven to the point where she obviously is very, she is very, stern and also capable and also very, driven. And I think he wanted somebody to control all the negative aspects of his life. He didn't want to think about it anymore. He didn't want to suffer. He didn't want the potential to suffer.
And we've seen this kind of behavior before in Subaru.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes.
That's the kind of nature our relationship with Priscilla is. It's not a healthy one.
For personalities wise, when I used Reinhardt as an example for physical strength, as terms of mental strength go, as far as we've seen, I'd probably give it to Priscilla because she believes her own words this much so far, what I've seen. There's a lot of characters that say things or that make speeches.
Yeah.
No. And for a person who most likely at this point does doubt themselves, especially with however much he's gone through with life, seeing in this regard, he's kind of like because he calls Garfield out for this. He's basically, every time they give kind of a childish action or one that might be a bit naive, he's quick to be on, are you really talking like that? Really? You're looking at this man and saying, oh, Captain, what are we going to do? And he's clearly broken down. You can see he's broken down. And you're still asking him, why don't you figure it out yourself? You're going to have to eventually. He's basically telling all of them, this is what you're going to have to do.
This is where Al becomes a really interesting character, because this is an example of what, as we said, we're kind of like the If stories as well. This is kind of where Subaru would have gone if he gave up. If he gave up on what makes him who he is and his values. Because Subaru isn't someone who likes to feel pain either. I mean, the whole reasoning he tells Echidna that he rejects the contract with her is that he doesn't like feeling pain.
Yeah.
He hates the misery that comes with it.
You know,
But him and Al had an opposite reaction to that kind of confrontation. Whereas Al was terrified of losing more things and being more hurt.
I just realized something. And I agree with you entirely, but I just thought about this connection narratively, and I was like, wow, that's a really good one. Which is the fact that when Subaru had a similar moment to this, when he broke down in front of Rem and wanted to run away from his problems. And instead, Rem told him that, you know, like, he needed to, like, live his life and he needed to, you know, start over. And also, like, he was somebody who had value. In Al's case, it was probably something similar like that to Priscilla. But instead, she was willing to let him run away.
Yeah. Actually, this is... there is... have you heard of the Lost in Memories video game for ReZero?
Yes.
That was the most recent one, correct? Right? The one on PS4?
It's a mobile game. No, it's not the visual.
Yeah.
The story for the game is in kind of a visual format. And depending on the choices you make, you can actually go off into different if stories. There's a unique if story for this game where Subaru is middle-aged and he has like, the same design as Al.
Yes, yeah.
Now...
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is actually something we could talk about, is that maybe Al did have that person that was there to give him strength. But what if he lost that person? And that's why he's afraid. Maybe he initially didn't give up, and that's what's made him give up so much, because he lost them and couldn't retrieve them.
I think it's likely.
Another also interesting point someone put in the chat, Andre. The other question on the flip side is, what does Priscilla see in Al?
So I'll go for this one because I think you know, as somebody who likes Priscilla the most here, I think probably
I like Priscilla.
I've the most insight, I think, into her character overall. I think because I've read some of her backstories. Priscilla needs people like Al, even if she doesn't admit it, right? Because not only does her mindset belie the fact that, like, her goal forward is to possess things that are capable and strong and deserving of respect, right? But Al's not one of those people. So she feels almost like she can use him no matter what.
Well,
but I think that Al is somebody that she understands is actually a very strong person somewhere deep down. But she's willing to take advantage of that for her own ends.
You saying that has made me realize that. Do you remember the loop in Arc 3 where Subaru goes to Priscilla for help? And he gets down on his knees and tries to lick her foot.
Yeah.
And she gets angry. Doesn't she refer in some ways to Al, I think, even directly as a dog? And she called Subaru a dog in that moment too. Mm-hmm. That's what probably made her so angry. She sees someone like Al, who deep down is strong, be weak.
Acts like a dog anyways.
Exactly. Yeah. And you think about it...
She probably treats Al with pity, right?
Well, we've seen the example of when people stand up to her, especially like what we saw with Felt, she respected it.
Yeah, she respects it because she sees someone who's strong.
In our world, she probably just... So, it's the two different takes you want to take on Priscilla, whether or not most of her stuff is evil or one of her stuff is good. In her own world, she could be trying to bring the best out of everything because those are her things. And if she's going to have them, they're going to be at their best condition. Or we could see that she plays around with people and that there's nothing else there. She's just enjoying the sensation of power, in a sense. A character you sort of reminded me of, but they're not completely there. But it's just my thoughts of being like an anime-only garbage. She kind of reminds me a little of Aqua, if Aqua was actually successful in what she does. Aqua's character is based off the fact that she needs a lot of... She needs people to believe in what she is in order to feel her self-confidence. Priscilla has that. 'Cause here's kind of the thing. If nobody believed any of Priscilla's crap, yeah, she might still be super strong or whatever, but who would care? Great, you think you're amazing. Whatever else. She now becomes the joke in that sense. And that's the reason why Aqua's as funny as she is. She's a goddess. Ha ha ha, you have all the power in the world, but no one cares about you. No one gives a crap. It doesn't mean anything. And Priscilla's living the opposite of that, where everybody kind of gives her the respect she has. She's earned it as well. But I have to wonder, with a person like you brought up earlier, having Al around, yes, she might also see his potential, but he is basically a dog. The dog will always come back for praise.
Yep.
He has people around him who will always come back for praise, and she's
yeah.
now being rewarded.
Well, what she's thinking is the fact that, well, it's threefold, right? For the most part. It's the fact that she sees somebody who, has given up on his dreams, his life. She feels like it's only right that, she treats him like a dog, because to her, he is, right? Because she feels like in her own, desires, she puts the most value in what she wants, which following her passions, her dreams, her goal in life. She loves the world, she loves everything in it, and she's going to claim it all because that is her right, and that's what she wants to do with her life. Mm-hmm. And when she sees somebody forsake that within themselves, she feels disgusted. She feels absolutely, horrified by it. And she sees somebody like Al, who's generally strong and wants to give up and wants to be used and wants to be controlled. And she's like, of course I'll do that, but I still hate you, right?
I wonder if we're ever going to get a moment, because we've had a lot of characters. Basically, you used the word disgusted in a sense. If she's ever going to be put into the position in which he hates the most, because that's what we see out of most of these characters, and how she's going to react to that. My next question, because it's still not going to be that far off, was basically, this is more about physically with Priscilla, is how was she able to handle herself for so long? She's the only candidate, as I wrote, blissfully uncaring about danger. Because we see how the other candidates have acted. And it's not like Krush isn't a pushover. Memories forgotten or whatever else. She's not a pushover. But even there's an air of caution at all times. Amelia doesn't take these things lightly, so an air of caution. We saw that she stepped up a level in her physical combative capabilities, to a point we could almost rely on her to take serious on for a minute or two, right? We haven't seen too much of Felt, but Felt has Superman around her, so that's a little different. It's a bit of a different situation. And she's still in her childish mindset, so sometimes she feels like she can take things on, but we've seen terror in her with Elsa's situation, but she's running in there because people are important to her. And then Anastasia, as we've already shown, she's completely out of the case, so she doesn't even hop in at that point. She'll give the directions, guidance, and everything else, but she doesn't get in. Priscilla walked calmly, it's cold around and everything else. Like, it just didn't matter. Yeah. And I also put in there, why hire Al? Which, that's why I said it went back to this question. She doesn't really seem to need protection at that point. She's so scary, and physically, that she got Hindcold up on a wall, and everyone's like, whoa, don't kill him yet.
In some ways, Al is the person that's limiting that scariness, right? He's the one who's trying to make sure she doesn't go off the wall.
Exactly. And, it's either two things, right? And you can take this whatever way that you want it to take it. It's either one, confidence, just blind confidence in her abilities. Or two, her environment is one in which stuff like this, like conflict, strife, like being able to confront somebody, is something that she does constantly. To her, it is just another day, just another thing that she needs to do, and she's fine with it. She's accepted it, and this is her reality. More so than any other candidate who, sure, they want to be amicable and whatnot. Priscilla is willing to take what she wants, because that is what she feels like is, perhaps that is
right.
Yeah,
that's what happens, right? And that's how some people probably view the world. The strong have the right to manipulate the weak and to take what they wish, because they're strong.
Yeah, exactly. And the environment in which that sort of fosters is like somebody who is willing to, do anything for, strength, for power. That is sort of what she is for the most part. But it belies the sense that her as a person has had to do a whole lot and struggle to get where she is today. And as such, she's willing to be in an environment that she has to, fight people. She's willing to. She's fine with talking crassly. She's fine with exactly. She's fine with talking crassly. She's fine with engaging with people physically. She doesn't really think second of it.
No. Doesn't care what people think at all whatsoever. She's making all her own statements. And I mean, even when she sits down to get the information here, she basically acts like the boss when she comes to sit down. She goes, "Oh, you all waited for me. That's great." Sits down in the chair. "This chair is awful. Tell me everything you know. Then you may have my help. Maybe." I just leave.
I mean, in some ways, I think in part of the reason why she keeps Al with her is because she's merciful to him because she pities him. And Al brings out the side of her that pities people, right? Like, she was going to kill Heinkel earlier on in Arc 5 if Al didn't intervene. And because of what Al says to her, she begins to just pity him instead of just thinking of him as a disgusting fuck. Al might, in some ways, be, as someone in the chat mentions, kind of her moral compass, in a way. The one that grounds her.
Yep.
Yeah. I think Priscilla, more so than Anastasia so far that we've seen, has aspects to her where you can see very underlyingly a sense of, compassion in a way. Even though she doesn't act that way, she has a lot of values that are very strongly...
The way I'd like to put it is cruel or like truthful compassion.
Yeah, well, she's very honest and she has...
Situation.
Well, exactly. But she's very honest and she's very, true to herself and very passionate that, she appreciates other people because of the way that she appreciates herself, yeah.
I'm really excited to see how Al, Priscilla, and Schultz play out a lot because, just seeing how they interact, and of course with my knowledge of the next chapter, I know they talk a little bit more, but it seems like they're almost like a little family, which is weird because it's Priscilla who's very aggressive, but they also seem to really respect one another in her weird way.
Mentioning a couple things we talked about earlier, Al's middle-aged. He's been in this world probably for 20-ish years now. That's probably
if we're assuming he was brought into the world
at the same point as Subaru. Yeah. And also, he may, because of that, he may see Priscilla as somewhat as a daughter figure, almost like a fatherly kind of,
Yeah.
Even though he wants to lick her feet.
Alright, let's not go there.
Yeah,
Let's just keep it. Darn it, gold.
He still is a dog after all, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
I mean, actually, we can make another comparison to Subaru here. Subaru's at least if I'm Amelia's dog, I'm part of the family or the household, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, based off what you brought up too, wasn't Al there right before Priscilla kicked him as hard as she could and grabs him by the neck and possibly could have went further? And Al goes, "Whoa, what's going on here? Al, you got her real angry. Well, screw it. I don't want him anywhere. Get him out of my sight now, Al." He could have died, possibly. He had to return by death again without even learning the lesson.
Could have died.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I mean, yeah, that's as Gold said, it's another showing of Al's inner strength in work, because at times he goes against how he actually feels to help people. Specifically with Subaru, because and this is why I was making the comparisons and why he's so critical of Subaru early on in this arc when he talks about how heroically he sees the world and how he wants to heroically tackle things. It's because Al relates to Subaru. I mean, he calls him bro. From Al's perspective, he may see him as a little brother kind of figure, someone who's kind of lost and in the same position as he is, and doesn't want him to get hurt like he did. Which is why he's so
Subaru's got a lot of Subaru's got a lot of someone made a video about this recently. It was a very good video though. Subaru's got a lot of pseudo father figures around him. So with Roswaal, Roz was living a bit within Subaru in a sense, he could see himself in him. With Wilhelm, he could see himself in him.
Wilhelm is his ideal.
A lot of these people, he's the brighter future out of all these father figures he technically kind of has, but he's surrounded by people this. And Al now in this regard is also another person who has lived this life, and it's like a father and son arguing about what morals are, from a person who's already lived them and a person who is hopeful about them. Subaru has lived a bit more. It's not like the typical situation. Subaru has obviously seen things, but the extent is still another question. That's just very interesting. Do you have anything else that you want to add to this before I think go to our next question? I guess that question's still kind of still relevant to this one too, but I think we kind of answered that. I was gonna say, does she have a divine protection, or is she just feeling very confident? I think I was gonna give that more to the people who could speculate on it, because I think you guys have a little bit more information than
I can't talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Kyles or
yeah.
I
Pat,
feel
did
like
you have any?
there's definitely something she has, because she always goes on about how the world is made for her and
Yeah.
it's always in her favor. So like she has some sort of power, and also the fact that like she's freaking throwing people around as if they're ragdolls. Also, you know,
She's pretty tough.
That is one thing I can talk about, yes, because this isn't in comparison to Reinhardt. I told you earlier, Reinhardt is loved by the world,
Yeah.
Yeah.
by the thing that governs the world. If Priscilla is loved by the world, doesn't that mean her arrogance is in some way correct?
Yes. The morals here in this
Yeah,
world, yes.
if that's the allusion to that, you know, maybe you can take that in context of being like she's hinting at the fact that she has divine protection, if that's how
Yeah.
you want to take it.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Kyles?
what she could be saying. Or it could be completely different if she's just arrogant. There's layers to this you can think
If
about.
it's just arrogance, it's going to be hilarious later on.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty funny.
I mean,
Uh,
I'm the kind of person, I believe there has to be like some reason that she's this obsessed with herself. Like she can't just have this big of a head for no reason. I know she's royalty and all, but like you'd think you'd have some reservations if you didn't have something to put forward.
But we've seen it with literally every other candidate.
Yeah.
Like, one thing we see, or one thing I like noticing with Krush is Krush was not very confident about her appearance, even when she had her memory. Rem specifically, she tells Rem, she goes, "Oh, you know, I'm sure he's fine," and I think she gives a compliment to her looks. And
Yeah.
Rem does the same thing, and the first thing Krush does is, "No. She still has reservations about herself."
Yeah.
There's all still things, and as you guys brought up with her backstory, well, it makes more sense why she would also still have some reservations. She realizes she's not all powerful in a sense, and it feels like Priscilla is the only person out of all the candidates who hasn't gotten hit in the head with life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's why I made the comparison to Reinhardt, because they're two opposite reactions to the kind of like same concept.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
loved by the world, and I hate it, and you know, it's not good. It's not a good thing. I'm loved by the world, and therefore I should take advantage of that. Because if I waste my blessings, I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
She probably
Interesting.
would. She would actually probably hate Reinhardt if she knew more what he was like.
More likely than not, yes. She
Yeah.
probably
In fact,
tried to kill
in
him.
fact, I think it's probably. I don't think she really has any interactions with Reinhardt. She may just be purposefully ignoring him.
To be fair, she did bring his father, and it didn't seem she was completely unaware of how spiteful
Mhm.
that
Would
interaction would
she
go.
would she be maybe doing that to like protect
Vulcan?
her, like if she had a divine protection from Reinhardt learning it? Or can Reinhardt just like pick up on anything?
He can
Well,
he can pick up on
yeah.
people if they have divine protections. One of his
But
divine
you also have to
I was
understand
gonna
that
say,
Reinhardt, Reinhardt is a
No.
person full of reservations.
Mm.
He wouldn't take advantage of that because he would feel like it would be intruding on someone's
Yeah.
privacy of the person.
Would, yes. I was
I
gonna
think
say, you guys
also
talked
that-
about Al earlier, and with the provoking aspect of him being a dog, she could just be trying to provoke that part of him out. She could be. My bad, Pat, go ahead.
I think just also the fact she hasn't really spoken to Reinhardt directly, and I think that's down to the world being in her favor. I don't think she wants to really, possibly a part of her knows that like if she gets Reinhardt properly angry, maybe that would be the end, and that's
What
her
happens if she comes
idea.
into conflict with someone who's loved more by the world than her?
Yeah,
So
so
the actual Aqua situation from
So-
earlier, she won't be praised.
I don't think that's the fact. I think if this is her ability that like the world's made for her, then that ability would steer her away from Reinhardt. So like it would keep her out of
I mean,
danger.
This
Like
is
she's
also,
walking,
yeah.
like she
Reinhardt
walked
is a-
down the street of that's currently being completely abandoned with witch cultists everywhere, completely
Those witch cultists were
confident.
strong.
So I feel like
Terrible.
her ability will also keep her out of trouble
This-
and will only put her into situations that will work for her.
I mean, in a way, Reinhardt is in some ways right about himself. The people around him are in danger because of who he is.
True.
Because Reinhardt is so strong, the people around him are very weak. That's the kind of unfortunate reality that comes with being who he is.
Yeah,
And-
he's very powerful, but he's not strong. You know, like
Reinhardt cannot be everywhere. Reinhardt is
Yeah.
not a god. Reinhardt is a man with the powers of a god.
And the other thing with this is we get this in a lot of shonens as well. It's like the big thing with at the end of Dragon Ball, or I guess the Cell Saga of Dragon Balls. He realizes that because I am so strong, because I get so many people riled up because of that, just from me existing, I can't be here anymore. It's just a danger to you in general. People see that as a challenge. There are people, as we talked about, with different mindsets when they see things. There are certain people, when they see something like that, their first thing is, I'm going to take him down in any way possible. His father did it to him, as we saw. His father went, well, I'm going to go for the one thing I know it's valuable, and you can't do anything about it. I'm stronger than you now.
This adds layers to his loneliness, too. Because he may also feel like, because of his abuse and the way he was brought up, that he doesn't deserve to be loved, he doesn't deserve to love, and he doesn't deserve her connections. But also that if he makes connections, he hurts people. I mean, think of it from his perspective. A 5-year-old who was blamed by his grandfather and his father that he murdered his grandmother because he existed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Can we get a Reinhardt love if? Can we get him in a romantic comedy?
Yeah.
And, you know, another thing to think about is the fact that, you know, for Reinhardt, he probably also feels like his strength is a weakness because no matter what he does, he feels like he always has dominion over other people just because of the nature of not only his like position, but also like, you know, his actual strength.
Yeah, he wants to see people as equals, but the world doesn't let him.
Yeah.
He's in, as you said earlier, he's in Subaru's position where he feels like he has a power he doesn't deserve.
Or can't use properly, or isn't worthy.
Or can't use properly. If somebody else had it, they'd do better.
Yeah. I mean, with Reinhardt in particular, you actually see this in Reinhardt's relationships with everyone. Ever wonder a reason why we never see Reinhardt too much in the main story and not too much with Subaru? He may like Subaru and be friends with him, but what happens if he forms too much of a bond with him? What happens to Subaru?
Danger, basically.
Danger.
Or Subaru might not be the same person with him.
I mean, this is also a thing. Julius, he's friends with Julius. Do we see him interact with Julius all too much? No.
No. It's usually
friends
just
with
civil
Felix.
remarks.
Just so you know, Basic Demolition, you did nothing wrong, but that is technically a spoiler, so I just got rid of it. But yes, that is fair.
I mean, yeah, that is the thing with Reinhardt, right? Is that he's a lonely person that's trapped in his loneliness.
He's at the peak of the mountain, and there's nobody else there.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well,
And that's why Subaru seeing him as an equal is what made him so happy. Because it's like someone has finally acknowledged me and looked me in the eyes and, you know, seen me as a person. Not someone to be treated with reverence, but someone who will talk down to me and tell me when I've done something wrong or fucked up.
Yeah.
And will joke
Where
with
were
me.
you? What's wrong with you?
he just wants somebody to treat him like a person, not a thing
Yeah.
to be used.
Yeah.
Treat him like a bro.
And
Speaking.
how does
Go ahead.
what does Subaru feel? He feels the weight of expectations of his father. He feels that nobody sees him as an equal or sees him for who he is.
Ow.
It's why they're such good friends. They barely spend time with each other. But they
Because just like
understand each other.
Reinhardt.
As Satoshi
Speaking of
said.
best friends.
Oh.
Look like
Did we just become best friends?
No.
More than friends. Ooh.
Oh.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yo, you know what?
Nice,
If there's going to be a
yo.
yaoi with anyone, I'd support, okay? I'd go all the way.
Oh my gosh.
Reinhardt and Subaru sitting in a tree.
K-I-S-S-I-N-G.
Speaking of best bros and possible shipping,
Oh, yeah,
Otto's
that's
still a best boy.
Best
Uh,
boy
Yeah.
Otto.
I was gonna
Still.
talk about
Oh, yes.
just get this out, I guess. Otto's sharpness and the fact that he basically the whole entire time, because he knows how his two friends are, specifically doesn't want them in danger. So what the first thing he thinks of is, what would Roz do next? There's no way a man like him is just gonna be like, oh well, yeah, I guess you won. That's great, cool. I'm just gonna sit back now. I'm giving up forever.
Yeah.
He had a book. They told him all the possible, as far as we're aware, possible future. He was following said book. Why would he feel so confident giving up right now, especially when he asked Subaru, hey, you know, do you think he really gave up on what he wanted? And the first thing Subaru says is, well, no, but I feel like we have him kind of in a corner a little. At least we know what he's going to do. Oh, my one question was, one, you can go on discussion about Otto and how you feel about this. Two, Roswaal's influence, which I feel like is definitely a strong thing. It feels like Roswaal's influence feels like the second season of My Hero Academia, where they finally got All for One down. Most powerful villain in that series, or at least at that point. But just because you have him in jail now does not mean he's going to be in jail forever. And then the last thing is, do you think there's anybody else as wary as Otto is currently at the moment about the situation?
To answer your last question first, no.
Okay.
The Amelia camp is an example of people full of idealists and naive young people.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
Otto is a good friend before anything, and he is a naive, idealistic person as well.
I was gonna say, that's his idealism there.
It's why he's such a terrible merchant, because he's a good person. But
Bro,
Wow, why are you adding Otto like this?
because it's
raw,
true.
cough, cough, Anastasia, cough, cough. Keep going.
And it's but that's why he looks out, because he's a good friend. We can kind of make this comparison to what good friendship is with Reinhardt and Subaru and Otto. Subaru sees Otto as an equal and as someone that has weaknesses that he can fill in with his own strengths, and that's why Otto tells him to leave it to him. You know, here, deal with this. Subaru, I know you're not strong in this area. I can do this because I'm your friend and I got your back. You're not alone. That's what he's telling him in that moment.
Yeah.
Because he's not expecting Subaru to change for him. He's saying, I don't expect you to change.
Let me help you.
Let me help you, because I love you the way you are.
He literally punches him because he knows Subaru's gonna be like, no, stay out of the way, I have this, blah blah blah. And he has to physically show him, you cannot do all. He had to do it right in front of him.
I mean, he had to
already
physically
breaking
force
down.
him to see him as an equal. That's what he had to do in Arc 4. And that's why he punched him and brought him to the floor and beat him up.
He had to. Me man too. I do this.
And that's why he tells
Simple as
Subaru,
possible.
I don't care about the context. Tell me what you're feeling and what's going to happen, and I'll believe you, because I'm your friend, and I see you as an equal.
I had to rewatch that for the visuals, and it hit so hard the second time round.
Yeah,
It was so nice.
because Otto is
Just
someone
painful
that
that it
genuinely
ends there.
believes in Subaru.
Man, was it a good moment. That was such
Yeah.
a
So
good moment.
good.
Otto is such a good friend.
Oh, the best
Oh
of
my
friends.
gosh. Were any of you like worried that he might be up to something suspicious the
Yes.
first time you
No.
saw this?
No, not at all.
I was.
I see. Confidence in the lack of.
I could very much tell that Otto, from being a bad merchant, was someone that was not suited to it because he's just a nice person.
You just felt like there's no possibility for him to be.
Well, I mean,
mischievous.
the best way to put it is that the kind of impression I got from having that oil at the time, like being out of season, is that he was swindled by someone else who basically told him, "Oh yeah, this is the perfect season to be selling oil."
That's a good point. I guess from my perspective, the first time I saw Otto, I was very much riding with Subaru the entire time I first watched season 1. It took me, obviously, watching again where I could start seeing the other people's perspective, and I think season 2 opened that up for me a lot, as it kind of pointed out, like, well, here's what you're doing. That doesn't make much sense. But specifically, before with Otto, I found him cowardish to that sense. He had obvious reasons to do so, but when you're with Subaru throughout his entire journey, it becomes a question of, like, how many more people are going to betray him, in a
This
sense.
is also, it's a very beautiful message of, when you're around the people you love and the people you respect, you become a much more courageous person. Otto is brave for his friends and the people he loves and the family he has
True.
found. Otto, I mean, Otto fights
Fought
Garfield.
Garfield. Yeah, let's go right back to that. He was running for his life, yelling, "Go, Otto, go!" to himself.
He's a merchant that can talk to animals.
Oh my god.
And he fought against the character that killed fucking Elsa Reinhardt. Like, one of the
Yeah.
strongest characters we've seen in ReZero so
Yeah.
far.
Oh my gosh. I
Otto is very
love...
brave.
People don't really go into, like, power scaling ReZero. I just love the example that... Because Frederica's nowhere near as strong as her brother, as far as you said, right? But she was still tough enough for a while to defend 2 other people, because that's what she had to do, and to keep the mansion kind of safe, because they were already going to start burning down the mansion and everything else.
Yep.
Do all that simultaneously.
This
And
is
she wasn't...
also
Okay.
an example of... Garfield may have been very strong as a person, like, when it comes to physicality and fighting potential, but as a mental thing, he was a very
Not
weak
there.
person. Frederica is the exact opposite. She's an average person in terms of strength, but she's a very strong-willed person.
Yes. And well, I have a
Indeed.
little bit more information on that, so I'm not gonna go on that one. Or I think we might have went over it, but I'm not gonna go on that. I just thought that was extremely interesting. So, and unlike Subaru, who's not aware of this stuff when he sees it, Otto, especially with Ram, when he gave that one weird saying, they're like, "No, he's gonna kill us. We got to get out of here right now." They're completely aware of what they're dealing with. when they see it, and Otto still chose to run out there. Subaru learns what he's going to have to deal with. At first, he usually doesn't think it's as bad as it's going to be. He starts to get more paranoid as the story goes on, for obvious reasons, but he never really has a gauge of it. When they're running away with, when Rem jumps over to go fight the whale herself, and again, even Rem at that point, pay attention to like how strong she actually is. It gets a little scary on how she acted from beforehand. But the first thing he says to him, he's like, "Oh, we got to go back. The whale." He goes, "Are you insane? The white whale has been here for years, thousands of years. The sword ain't lost. We are not going back." He doesn't have the ignorance Subaru has, which allows him to be a little bit braver than he might be. He'd still do it, I think, because he learns and he does it anyways. But specifically when he runs into situations, he has the ignorance to be blissful about the situation more than others.
And that is something Otto wants to protect. That's why he tells Subaru, you know, leave it to me. He doesn't want Subaru to be a person that changes for the world. Because Otto loves Subaru for Subaru, you know? The three idiots are brothers, you know?
Yeah. This is
And Otto is the big brother.
Yeah.
He's also an alcoholic, because yes. But
Still big brother, anyway. Yeah.
It's a very good commentary on the nature of relationships in ReZero, and to pay very much telling you what is a good relationship and what isn't. Because when Subaru is talking to Otto in that conversation, he's like, "I trusted someone. I saw someone as equal, and they betrayed me, and that was a kidnap. That was not a good relationship. That was a toxic relationship." Otto, on the other hand, is like, "But you didn't tell me." You know, he's
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect comment. ReZero is my favorite example of the power of friendship, because friendship is actually powerful in this instance.
This is the only time where it's valid.
Friendship and love brings out the best in people.
Yeah.
Your friends might have other skill. Oh my gosh.
Hi, Kanda.
Welcome,
Look, it's
Kanda.
Otto.
The man himself.
That's right. I'm here. I'm sleep deprived.
Oh.
Yay!
He had another night of drinking again.
Oh my gosh. How did you feel being best boy again?
It feels as awesome as always, I guess. So, what were you guys just talking about? Did we already get the talking about our plans out of the way?
Basically, yeah. We got that towards the beginning.
Yeah, we're into discussion now.
I was going to go over questions, and we were specifically talking about Otto and how he's still best boy, and how even though he was going to get the gospel, his whole idea was basically to watch out for Roswaal. He was still looking out for everybody, and I do like the fact that you added on too with the way that Subaru and him know each other. They were just doing stuff based off looks at that point. They have each other in mind so well. He was like, there has to be another reason why Otto's doing this. There has to be another reason. And whenever they needed to talk, they just nodded at each other.
Yeah.
We're going over there.
That's also another sign of a good friendship. You understand each other on a base level.
Gosh. Kanda, Pat, Kyles, did you guys have any opinions? Gold, I don't know if you got to go on it either.
I just want to, on Roswaal himself, I'm gonna need a wee bit refreshing. The magic thing that he did at the end of season 2, that sort of
contract.
Sealed him if he went against Subaru's sort of plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he can't physically act, correct?
Yeah, no. So the essential part is it was the stakes of the bet, but for Roswaal the stakes were much less, because Roswaal could force Subaru to reset, and he wouldn't have to suffer consequences, because if Subaru resets,
yeah, he schemed against him basically.
Yeah, because Roswaal knows that even if he loses, you know, he would lose a lot less than Subaru would if Subaru.
Yeah, because Subaru just resets anyway, so
yeah.
Roswaal would be free to provoke him.
Yeah. So what Roswaal can do is, if he feels like he needs to make Subaru reset, he can act against the contract and harm the people Subaru loves and force him to reset. Because of that,
His contract.
the contract won't do anything to him, because he wouldn't have done it, because he would have reset. Roswaal was very smart.
Oh my god.
Well, yeah,
so evil.
That's a very.
That's also
he's Dio after all.
Yeah, I mean that's also why he threatened Subaru at the end of season 2. He's like, "I'll be watching you. This path is lined with thorns, and I'm going to make sure that because you've made this the path we're walking down, that you make sure it is the one that you keep on following." he is
most
not letting
things in
Subaru back
season
down.
2, and like
Yeah.
most things in season 2, the impact of it was kind of just like thrown out of the water. It didn't even seem threatening to most people in the anime.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah,
that was the
unfortunately.
reaction.
I still got a feeling of threat for it, but that was me. I know a couple of people, they were like, it should have had more of an impact to it. But I felt the fact that he was threatening him. We already had all that crap over there. I know he's not bluffing. Oh,
Yeah.
that's basically
Yeah.
more of it.
But-
They put more time on actually seeing him get hit. There was some impact there.
Basically, yeah. Roswaal was very smart. He knew that in the bet he was making with Subaru, he would lose very little, even if he did lose. Because that would change the direction he's going in. I mean, yeah, because I mean, he was literally just like, fuck it, why not? He doesn't care. If he loses, he can just still make Subaru do what he wants if he really wanted to. And that's probably why Otto's concerns are valid here, you know? But as someone in chat says, he may not even need the gospel anymore. Subaru is kind of his gospel in a way now.
It is. Yeah.
That's how he's
the only one kind of aware of it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Though I think the plans, like Otto saying plans that could have been set out, I think Roswaal might have rethunk what the hell? Rethink them? Yeah, rethink them.
Whatever.
What has rethunked?
Yeah,
But,
essentially, yeah. As you're saying, basically, the whole point is that even though Roswaal wasn't expecting to lose, he knew as a contingency that even if he did lose, he could still make it work.
This is
He
a
just has to
person
change
who's
the direction of
around
where he's going.
Kidna for the longest time, right? This is like it's like a simple game of chess, right? Just because you lose pieces does not mean you have lost the game. You could be letting yourself lose pieces in order to get to a place,
win.
which has always been my thought with like a Kidna. Like, oh, everything didn't work out the way she wanted. Ah, fine. Do you really think this is the only thing that she had planned? No. But same thing with Roswaal. Do you really think it's the only thing he has planned? Great. You got the pawn. Good job. You win.
Roswaal is the kind of attitude that Echidna very much has, is that if someone has life, there is hope for them to live. He doesn't care about if their person is happy or not. He cares about the potential for them to possibly be happy one day because they're alive. Roswaal is a pragmatist in every sense of the word, you know, and he knows that he was losing very little by making that bet. Because in reality, he can break it whenever he wants, and he won't have to feel any consequences. Because if he goes far enough, Subaru has to reset. And he knows that now because Subaru is unwilling to give up on anyone.
I also saw to be fair, in 2 instances, right? In this regard, so every time he restarts, he knows, let's say he did find somebody or some people within the group important, well, he has them. Subaru's going to take care of them, as you just brought up. And then we've already saw what he lost that was most important to him, the fire and everything else. But even then, he's still, if it makes any sense, he's still him in a regard. He still can rely on the fact that he's learned so much.
In a sense,
being around the person.
Roswaal was more, in my opinion, Roswaal was more messed up by that because it was his emotional connection to Echidna, not because it was his way to get her back. He
already has so much knowledge as it is.
Yeah, he very much still could. It was that's the last person that he loves the most. That's the last thing the person he loves the most in the world gave him.
Somebody else brought up the fact, they said that they liked the fact that I agree with you on the contract, at least for me as an anime only. The fact that I didn't know about the contract actually made it feel like to me like, he actually had something there that could have worked. Otherwise, it just feels like, well,
this is a major criticism people have of the original web novel of Arc 4, is that the contract is stated beforehand. So there were like 0 stakes because you know Subaru has to win, because if he loses, then the story just makes no sense thematically anymore.
That is true.
Which is why Roswaal was sneaky about it in the light novel and the anime, and didn't tell Subaru about it.
There was also a time in which, like, you saw people like see the episode and the entire thing where Subaru was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it all in this loop," and then some people weren't sure if they should be confident about that because it's like, you know, what if he says this and then he still loses? And that seemed on brand for ReZero as a story to people, so it's still possible. And then, like, if the contract was there, it would be like, okay, I guess he's gonna.
The perfect example of that is what happens to Rem.
Exactly.
You know, Subaru in the end did lose. He didn't really
I was
win.
gonna say, even before that, in season 1, when we get to the part where Betelgeuse controls his body, like he didn't lose, but that was like a whole, oh, we're almost done. Nope.
Well, the best way to put it for Subaru is that if Roswaal loses, he doesn't lose everything. When Subaru loses one thing, he loses everything, because that's the person Subaru is. He refuses to lose anything, and that's
like
what. And that's what
met.
And that's literally what Roswaal tells him when he says, like, at the end, is that this is the most painful path for you. Because Roswaal is a person that, even if he loses, he will not lose everything. Subaru is the exact opposite. If he loses one thing, he loses everything.
Because and the more Subaru grows, too.
So much. Yeah, because he's greedy.
He'll keep making new connections. He's going to keep trying to say they're just as valuable as well. It's just more people. That's more strings to play with.
How greedy.
Just a greedy guy.
Could I just have a quick question here on the actual gospel itself? Because, like, in season 2, we saw that, you know, it didn't even consider Otto, and that was sort of its downfall. How reliable is the gospel if it is brought back?
So, the gospel, it doesn't, from what I can infer, we don't know too much because we only know what Roswaal and Beatrice has told us. Feasibly, and little tidbits from Echidna. But the gospel doesn't tell you about the future. It tells you how to obtain the future you want, what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly.
But what makes the scenario really unique for Roswaal is Subaru, because Subaru's ability literally breaks the concept of the gospel. Subaru can directly change the fate of anything by knowing what he knows and by looping. And the gospel is null and void if Subaru exists.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, that's why Echidna is so fascinated by him.
The only counter.
He's outside the dimension of like
the possibility.
Of the reality of the world. Like him having existed in multiple dimensions means that the normal stakes of the world does not apply to him when he is the person who is arbitrating his own desires onto it. Because it's like, imagine, if you will, like an entire universe that was always going to like have a cause and effect that was logically progressing from one end to the other, and that is what the gospel, or I should say, the Book of Wisdom is, right? As well. And then imagine somebody from a different dimension showing up in that world, right? Then you can understand how the fate of that world would change considerably due to that person's inclusion.
It's like if we could make a game, but then some character from another game hops into your game and there's nothing you can do about it. You're aware of how the game should be going. They start jacking everything up that you've made or programmed.
The best way to put it is that Otto isn't part of the gospel because it's not part of what Roswaal needs to obtain his future. Otto helps Subaru because of the actions Subaru makes and because of him looping. And because Subaru finally sees him as an equal and asks for his help. Because Otto has nothing to do with Roswaal's plan for the future. Otto has everything to do with Subaru's plan for the future.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that. I thought that scene where Roswaal was just like, oh, you're not in my gospel. I thought it was literally just...
It was like making, like, artificially raising Otto's huge cock, right?
Wow, you're so important, Otto, yeah.
I didn't even know you were unnecessary. You were here? What's your name again? I met you on the first day.
Yeah, I mean that's also why Roswaal doesn't remember his name, because he's not part of his future. Why should he remember his name?
He got me a drink too, just like everything. They had like a whole afternoon together talking, and he just doesn't remember it.
I want to derail a little bit.
Oh my gosh!
Because
funny.
Here now.
And that's why Roswaal places so much value on Subaru, because his gospel is literally telling him that Subaru is the ticket to the future he wants, and that's what the battle between Subaru and Roswaal really is. It's not Roswaal forcing Subaru with force to do stuff. What Roswaal is trying to do is make Subaru think like him for his benefit.
Okay. That is true. And
that's why the gospel was flawed.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you the future, it tells you the future you want.
Yeah. And also, by like what people are saying, it was explained, I think, either by Roswaal or Kanda herself, where she said, like, yeah, this isn't the actual true future of the world. The Gospels are failed, like, replicas of the Book of Wisdom, right?
I mean, well, yeah, because the Gospels are an even worse version of the. So essentially, the books of wisdom that Roswaal and Beatrice have are essentially just slightly inferior copies of what Echidna originally had.
Exactly, because he said himself, like he was so smug when he was believing, like, yeah, these tell the true future of the world, right?
But that's
But,
not
like,
the true book of wisdom. That's an imitation of it.
Yeah,
It's a meteor.
yeah, exactly. And you see, like, with Beatrice is own.
It's a defective.
Is defective, right?
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah, because it doesn't actually tell her what she actually wants in
And
life.
that's because Echidna didn't want her to have that.
Or
I wonder if it's a
little devil's advocate, right? They could just someone might make the argument that because we don't actually ever see inside of Roswaal's, correct?
No, we only know about what Roswaal's gospel knows because he tells us, and we can never
something
trust
you
what
could say
Roswaal
with Beatrice. It could not just be the fact that she was told what she wanted. It's because of the fact she doesn't really have any true desires until Subaru starts bringing it out of her.
Well, here's what I was gonna say.
She has desires. She just doesn't know how to achieve them.
Yeah, exactly. So here's what I was gonna say. The thing with the Gospels are, and the reason why they're defective, and the reason why, you know, like Beatrice and also Beetlejuice's Gospels.
Well, yeah,
send them to their death.
Beetlejuice is even more defective.
Well, yeah.
It doesn't tell you the future you want. It kind of gives you an idea of what could happen in the future.
Well, here's how I actually see it. It's not that. It's the fact that they're defective. It's the fact that they show you the future that you think that you want in the ways that only you can know how to obtain it. Right? It's almost like how in
that actually makes sense as to why you can't read the gospel. Like,
yeah,
it reminds me of another anime.
Exactly, Fate, right?
Yeah,
with the Grail, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that might be actually what's going on there.
Like
that's a good point.
You just made me super excited about that.
I have not seen Fate Zero, and now I am super confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can watch it.
I would recommend it.
I would recommend it.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm trying to say about the gospel.
I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah. Basically, what I'm trying to say about the gospel is that, like, it shows you the future only if you know how it's, like, only if you yourself knows how it's possible to obtain it. It shows you the way.
It just shows you like the way to achieve it.
It doesn't show you what you truly desire. It only shows you what you think you desire, because that's what you know.
Example. Yeah. Say you were like, oh man, I want to make $1 million, but the only thing you've ever done in your life is like sell lemonade. So it's just gonna tell you how to sell lemonade better, possibly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not gonna tell you anything else. It wouldn't tell you like, oh, here's how we get into stocks or anything else.
Well, yeah, because the best way to put it is that it's defective, not just because the books themselves are defective, but because it's in the wrong hands. It works so well in Echidna because of her knowledge.
Yes.
What makes Echidna so scary is that because she has that knowledge, her gospel is so much more powerful because she knows how to achieve so much more than anyone else.
Be like, well, which step do you want to take, lady?
And that makes the scope of her desires and how she can achieve things so much larger than anyone else.
You like to go to college? We can go start in the stocks today. What do you want to do? It's up to you. You can make your choice anytime you want. And then I also mean she can branch off possibly at any point she needs to with all that knowledge as well. If she was going down one direction, she can just go down another.
Yeah, if she thinks it doesn't work the most efficient way, she can think of another way.
This kid makes me go back to Devil's Advocate with Beatrice versus Roswaal as well, because I know Beatrice knows a lot, but in comparison, I say Roswaal has more real-life experience as well as being just as knowledgeable.
Yeah, Beatrice is a sheltered child.
Yeah, so that can also add to the reason why her gospel is more empty.
No matter how old she gets, she is always going to be a child.
Yeah. Also, as a competent grown man who is the best. Is he the best mage?
Yeah, he is the best mage in all of Guernica. Yeah. He's literally the court mage of the Guernica. Like
he's literally the best mage in every single magic aspect except for water, which is Felix. So yeah.
Yeah, he has 3 of the 6 color titles, right?
Yes, and also he's capable of casting 5 spells at once, and also like
the only thing he's not capable of magically is healing. Exactly.
Which is thematic.
Speaking about weird magics to our next tie-in, so get a little bit further in. Wilhelm goes to talk to Subaru, to specifically say that Krush needs to or wants to talk to him currently in her state. We know that Felix is currently upset for obvious reasons, right? And as well, Wilhelm has to give him brief amount of information before they go over there. Brings up the fact that the swordsman he fought earlier, one of them was a king of the Empire. I don't have the specific information on that one, but there should not be a reason why he's currently there. You can go into it in a second. I'm do stupid.
No, I'm just saying is that he's not a king. He's a general.
I roll the Empire, my bad. We have that. He should be dead currently. Then added on to that, the other person who he has fought is actually his wife. Should be dead. The only examples he has one idea of why he thinks this might be going on, or at least Subaru brings up as well, and it's the thing we haven't seen in this world as of yet, as far as I remember. Necromancy, which is not that in fantasy, or at least in the idea of fantasy, it's not that misplaced. Like, you see that in a lot of shows, but we haven't really seen it here.
Yeah.
As well as the only person he thinks who could be able to do it, a witch named Sphinx, the demi-human war. So, my questions were, why is Teresia up and moving? Why is there another witch? Do they represent anything, as we've had with our other witches? What to do about this situation? Go ahead and dive in. I'm sure you guys will take this part.
The reason Teresia is up and running is because she's the perfect weapon. So the best way to put it is that if you ever were the Sword Saint, you know literally everything there is to be the best swordsman ever. Even if you lose that blessing, that just means you stop learning to become the ultimate swordsman. You still remember all the things that made you such a great swordsman. Teresia without the blessing is still amazingly strong.
Clearly, we've seen how strong she is. Yeah.
You've just got to remember, Wilhelm is no longer in his prime. He is no longer the young sword demon. He's an old man.
This seems to have resurrected, her at her prime.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing Wilhelm is dealing with. I mean, you think it was impossible enough for him to defeat the Sword Saint before, at his prime. He's fighting someone with the exact same skill set in their prime. You've also got to remember that Wilhelm is in his mid-60s too. He is getting up there in age.
Yeah. Wasn't there like a hint towards this happening like in Arc 3 that was like cut from the anime or something like that? Yeah, okay, so like to people who are like following our readings and like didn't, read the earlier arcs, is this literally their first like the huge bombshell to them?
It essentially, the information Wilhelm uses to figure this out is the information that's told to you at the end of Arc 3. It's just restated in such a way where it makes much more sense. So,
I remember in Arc 4, doesn't he talk about his cut being reopened? Basically,
the cut. That is Teresia's born divine blessing. It's the blessing of the death god, of some sort, which means that when she strikes someone, that wound never heals, truly. And when they're near, it begins to reopen. And he talks about how he still feels the pain from the wound and it's beginning to reopen. At the end of Arc 3 or the beginning of Arc 4.
Their love life, because if that's implying that it's just always there.
I mean, he explains at the end of Arc 3, the reason he has that wound is because Teresia was being a bit of a headstrong arsehole. She was basically saying that you're going to have this wound because when I get back, you're going to tell me you love me. Because the reason Wilhelm is like so saddened by everything, why he says so much that I love you when he finally kills the girl, is because he never actually told her, like in words, like explicitly that he loved her. She was doing.
He said, "I'll say it one day," and then he never did.
When they're like, when he goes to fight her or take the title away from him, he doesn't say "I love you." She says it, and he didn't say like "I know." What did he say specifically during that scene? I don't know why I said Han Solo.
He basically says "I love you" in the most indirect way possible. He definitely loves her, and she knows it. He's just never explicitly said it.
I mean, that's the reason why he ran up to the job title. He was trying to save her from the job she doesn't really actually want.
Yeah.
Bruh.
That's why he became the sword demon. Yeah.
You didn't. This is hitting Kyles.
Damn. Ow. That shit. Ooh.
And then you get that whole scene where he says "I steru," and I can still hear it in my head.
Yeah, Yeah, dude,
Oh
the
my
sub voice
gosh.
actor for Wilhelm is so fucking Chad. Jesus Christ.
Wait, hold on. We gotta get Purple to dub that.
Are you
Get Purple back here.
Yes, that could go
Someone said-
along the same lines of.
Willie is a tsundere. Oh my gosh. We have
I
to
mean,
get
Wilhelm is just a very socially awkward person.
Yeah.
I mean, we've learned literally. He tells us in the early on in Arc 5 when he's talking to Subaru about his wife, which is also a bit of foreshadowing too. That she's popping up again, but he tells him, I had no conversation topics. She would always start the conversation with me because she knew I was very socially inept, so she would always drive the conversation for me, and that's one of the many reasons why I loved her. Because she...
Yeah, when you see like not Reinhardt, god damn it, I'm tired. Sorry, Wilhelm when he was young, like, and how he looks now, like just how much, you know, he's like changed, like from in appearance, it just makes you think that, like, you know, he's gone through so many wars and shit. He's definitely like a completely different man, but no, he's still just as like socially awkward as he was all that time ago.
It's just he has wisdom to back him up.
Yeah.
It's actually why he takes such a liking to Subaru, because Subaru is very socially awkward in some ways, and he sees a lot of his younger self in Subaru, especially with his dynamic with Amelia, like his dynamic with Teresia. Except he's more proud of Subaru because Subaru is a very openly loving person.
I was gonna say that's probably a lot because it's the first thing
And
Subaru does.
That's
Amelia.
why
She's great.
If you wonder why he was so embarrassed when he was interacting with Reinhardt in the pancake scene, it's not just because of all the stuff that happened in the past. It's because trying to be openly affectionate is really difficult for him.
That's fair.
Yeah.
His grandson really needs it, and I'm sure he's kind
and
of.
And then Heinkel came in and fucking ruined it.
Fuck you, Heinkel.
I really hope we get more Suba Helm moments in the future.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely a top 5 friendship / relationship.
Let's just say, by the end of this arc, it gets even better.
No, that's amazing.
Can't wait.
Grandpappy Wilhelm.
So with Teresia being up and moving, do you guys think it's more like I brought up earlier in our own chat, more of just like a Naruto Shippuden where they're kind of just soulless husk? Think he's gonna have to be forced to face with actual conversation with his wife?
If Teresia wasn't a soulless husk, she wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
I meant more so. I guess when I say soulless husk, because I went for my brain's thinking Naruto when I said it first.
Well, no, it's also when Wilhelm explains the concept of corpse soldiers and like necromancy and Rizo as well. He very much states that the person isn't what's resurrected.
I don't think that happens yet. It's like the next chapter.
Oh shit!
He gives some sort of explanation.
Okay, yeah,
but
he does.
if not so,
Don't go
he
in
gives
depth.
some sort of explanation. Don't go crazy.
He goes really in depth in the next chapter. But no, you didn't say anything spoiler. I just remembered.
One. It's the next chapter. It's not that big of a deal if it was. Second of all, I'll just try to make sure we pick people, and we'll go with everybody new first, and then we'll go for everybody else. But we're giving analysis. You're doing fine. It's whatever.
We have 30 viewers here, and I can probably guarantee that all of them are novel readers.
That too. Yeah.
No,
you're all
good,
trying
you're
not
good.
to spoil me right now.
I was just warning.
they're gonna message me like
let us know in chat if you are
everybody
not reading ahead.
Put a W in chat if you've read it already.
W's in the chat.
L's in chat.
I guess lastly too is the witch. We have another witch mentioned.
Oh yeah. What do you think about this witch? What could it be? Because I mean, we're getting a bunch of like tertiary witches so far, and like when you hear the title witch, you think of of sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the problem with this is it's like we talked about this before, how there was 7 deadly sins and there was 2 removed, and we've gotten like the warlock of.
We've gotten all the sins.
Yeah, we've gotten them all. So it's sort of weird to think that there was another one at one point.
Imposter.
Yeah.
There could be.
The imposter.
People might try to go for the role, because that would mean, in a sense, if you could fake being a witch and have enough power to do so, that means people would be terrified of you. It means you have some sort of position in the world. And as we already talked about this world's morals, it's a bit different. Oh, people have done things like this to make names for themselves.
War, where literally everything is at stake, and if you don't go all the way, you're going to die and lose. It makes sense for you to wage psychological warfare on that level against your enemy.
Very much so. Psychological warfare can get people to quit.
Especially when that enemy includes the sword saint.
Yeah. Yeah. It just makes it a lot more simple to say you're going against a fort and you need them to open up because there's no way to get in there like safely. You can just tell them, well, you're going to run out of supplies. Eventually your people are going to turn on you, and if you don't open it up, well, you're all going to die anyway. So you might as well open it up and just hand over your leader. Well, you're going to listen. That's the only reason why like things like capitalism and things work the way we have it is because we value something that essentially has no value except we think it does.
Yeah.
A loan. Every dollar you have is a loan for something else. Oh, go ahead, Gold.
I was just gonna say something, but I think it might be too much of a hint.
Okay, all right, we're gonna jump over there. I know sometimes you guys are like hinting because you guys want me to like catch on to it. I am a dense person. You guys just wait till I get there.
Yeah.
Wait, honestly, I'm all the way at 48 and I know all of that now, and so I'm just like quietly sitting here like, oh wait, can I say that? I don't remember. Is that out yet? Wait, is this out? Huh?
Yeah,
we've had a break, and that also makes it more rough too. Like when we were all doing this day after day, it's kind of like, okay, we were all done in that chapter. That's fine.
Yeah, I haven't actually read these chapters since I voiced them.
So. I think the sad part is I don't think it gets revealed explicitly like what happened in Wilhelm's past, except for in like the novels. Or like his EX novels, so you'd have to read that to get the full context.
Good thing I own the EX novels.
Ooh.
Bad thing I haven't read them.
I still need to read them.
Yeah, but there's been times where we hear the term witch and it's not like actually like fitting.
Well, the way
Amelia?
it seems to be is that
like
it's
with Amelia,
misinformed, right? Like what the general public's idea of a witch is
half elf.
It's probably not what it actually is.
I don't even remember the names of the other witches, correct?
I mean, yeah, they're all lost.
No, they don't. No.
Yeah, so they don't even know.
Yep.
Not even qualified. The only person who's qualified to know what a witch is, kinda, is Subaru.
Or people were alive back then.
Other people, yeah. Or I guess Amelia now too.
That's
Subaru and
true.
Amelia are the only people to be like, oh, I know, I can see a witch. There's a witch.
It's a witch!
Yeah.
But
Oh my gosh! And you saw Amelia was with a witch. She was with the Kidna the entire time, and she was completely like, "Oh hey Kidna, we're walking this way."
Was a kid there inside Amelia the entire time? Whoa, that's a plot twist.
Amelia calling herself the Witch of Glaciation is so much fucking cooler than just the Frozen Witch. I think that was like a fan translation of the web novel. They made it like a much cooler name, and then in the anime and light novel it's just
This
Frozen
is why I
Witch.
tell people just don't look at fans. It's I'm a little tangent. Playing Guilty Gear, some people named the whole OST, like they gave titles to the names. The actual names, though they're more thematically correct, are nowhere near as good as the names we had beforehand, and it sucks.
Right? The fans are always better.
The fans are always better.
Just look at the Sonic the Hedgehog series.
Okay, no. I was about to say I'm gonna stop you anyways. I play Genshin. That is not the truth. That is not true.
You know what's funny? That I talk about this, it's like usually when people think about icy characters, like characters that are thematically linked with ice, they think somebody cold and like distant. But I think Amelia's like the exact opposite of that.
Well, no, because
Kyles, you have to sing "Let It Go" as Amelia.
Oh,
no.
I was gonna do that!
No.
That is true.
I was gonna agree with you. Like, think of all the ice characters you know.
Well, no, it's because there is no such thing as an ice element in ReZero. It's only fire.
Yeah, fire or water.
Fire!
You have like everything like Gray from Fairy Tail, or like Esdeath, or like other people that I know like specifically only focus on ice. They're all very kind of brutish people, cold-blooded in some sort of sense. And Amelia's over here like, oh my gosh, Subaru, I can't believe you did that again. Oh, I'm so mad at you.
You're such a dunderhead.
Dunderhead.
Go ahead, say wah, Kyles, do it.
Wah!
There we go. That's. If I pictured any sound coming from Amelia, you remember when was it Lost in Snow or whatever the one was, where she was trying to hide what was going on? She's like, oh no, Subaru, actually other things are going on right now. I can't imagine what's happening right now, but you should go over here, blah 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 blah, and go walking away.
That's
Rap
me
God
on a
Amelia.
regular basis.
Damn.
That's how you are. Yeah.
Ooh.
Amelia is a boomer.
Okay, boomer.
I mean, she is.
She is.
Actually, while we're
Don't be
digressing,
Generation behind.
Awesome.
I wanted to point out something that you pointed out in your thing, Lightning. And now that Kanda's here, we can talk about it. the part in the chapter where Otto goes, "Wait, what?" And we added the echo.
Oh yeah, voice acting moments. Yes. 10
Wait,
out of
what?
10
What?
voice
What?
acting.
What?
Wait, did you not hear it, Gold? Oh
No,
no,
I
you
haven't
did.
heard.
You did.
I heard it. Yeah. I just.
You did
Yeah.
beautifully.
Oh my,
thank
he
you.
just did it. Yeah,
Yes.
he just did
So
it.
good.
So dumb.
Oh my gosh.
Kanda
We lost
hit me up.
Amelia.
While he was recording his lines, and he's like, "Kyles, can you put on an echo effect on this?" And I was like, "Sure can." Set it up, sent it back. He put it in his final edit. Oh man, that's what I was looking forward to. I was watching it with Wolf to make sure that I didn't fuck it up in the edit. I still did, but that's okay. And then the best moment was listening to that again. Oh, it felt so good.
What you're saying is Kanda's actually a great voice director and has an idea and a good eye for it.
Yeah.
We hired the right
Kanda?
guy for free. Let's go.
We hired somebody for a
My-
job that wasn't a job. Hey, let's do
You
it.
give me
let's
voice
go.
direction for my entire live stream. I'd really appreciate that. A whole 3 hours of just.
I'm not sure you need that. You just need to be yourself, buddy. Unless you're insecure about your own person, but then I can't really do anything about that because I'm not a
That was
therapist.
insanely deep. Oh my god.
You went
You're
for
amazing,
shot.
Lightning, just the way you are.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
I'm leaving
We love
now.
you, Lightning.
We
I'm
love you,
muting.
Lightning.
Yeah,
Like
we can't really
you
control
soar
about how
like
you
an
feel about
eagle.
yourself, but you know.
I hate all of you because you all dogged on his good joke. Screw all of you. He's the only one who earned that. He made it. The rest of you are hopping in. Darn you.
That's what I'm good at.
Oh my gosh. Second really good moment. Shut up, Andre. Anyway, second good moment was Wolf yelling, "Shut up!" for Liliana. That was
Yes.
so.
Yeah,
Oh,
I remember
That
that. Yeah.
cringy box tumble sound effect. Oh, I was so happy about it.
I could just hear the frustration in Wolf's voice having to voice such an annoying character. He was
No,
just like, "Shut up!"
It was
No, because it's
personal.
literally I'm having a conversation with myself, and it is the most painful fucking thing in the entire world.
I think that was the only one you had a one take for, and we were just like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. That's good.
That was literally all my frustration I've ever felt about that role in that one bit of
Shut
dialogue.
You
right
can
there.
see all the people who love his Wolfiana who is cheering, "Wolfiana, Wolfiana, Wolfiana."
My favorite, but my favorite part of that chapter, funny enough, was voicing all the Liliana sound effects getting absolutely destroyed.
Oh yeah. I
Oh
have a
yeah, well,
whole-
wasn't one of them like "Pooya" or some?
Yeah.
Pooya.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a good shift in tone. Everything was so heavy before we got just annoying again.
Why is everything so heavy?
And I got to
Oh my
finally
gosh.
use Petra's song. It was great. Jace picked
You
some
mean
great tracks.
holding on? Well, not that one. Not the one me and Kanda were just singing.
Yeah. Good
Oh
song.
my gosh.
Man, but there's a lot to look forward to in the upcoming chapters.
Honestly.
In terms of not only the content, but also all our voice actors putting in so much good work
Oh yeah.
coming up. So there's a
so
lot to
many
be excited
character
about
dynamics.
as we're getting to
I
the
am so
climax of
pumped.
this arc. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very
Again.
excited to talk about 48. I've worked my butt off on that one.
Yeah,
Finally
Carl's
Hell
get
yeah.
more of my
been telling
favorite
me a lot about how
candidate.
hard you've been working on that one.
I'm
Hell
very
yeah.
excited for chapter 50 to give my sexy narration.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
I'm
That
excited to
narration
do.
too,
I'm
as
actually
well.
really excited to do my narration. Actually.
Oh, I have some too.
Sensual.
What chapter am I doing again, Kanda? Can you DM that?
Yeah, originally you were gonna do one, but there were more people that
Oh,
that
good.
wanted to do it. So, and I decided,
Also,
I mean, you already have enough
Oh,
shit to do
thank
as
you.
it is, so.
Thank you. Give it
Wait,
away.
You did.
I
You
swear
did
I'm doing
this chapter.
I did
I'm
during
doing-
had
this
a
chapter.
chapter.
Finally.
I swear I'm doing chapter 54, right? I'm not incorrect. I did remember that correctly, right?
Yeah.
I'm doing
Okay, I'm
58.
not-
You were gonna do 59 originally, but Trezzy is doing that now.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I'm
I'm
doing it.
narrate.
I'm doing 54.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's getting involved.
Yeah, Trezzy DM'd
I
me
love
one
including
day
everyone.
and was like, "Yo, can I narrate?" And I said, "Yeah, you can."
Good for Trezzy. He's making a move up.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my
Okay, good.
gosh.
So no narration for me. Bless you, Kanda. I need to keep up with my Amelia stuff, anyways.
Oh yeah, you didn't even start on any of the chapters
No.
yet, huh?
I hit 48, and I. That's tonight's job with my other voice acting gigs that I have ignored.
Question to you all. That's all for my questions. Any of you guys have any other picture you wanted to bring up specifically? You guys, we can just keep evolving. That's completely fine.
I mean, that's fine. Is there anything else that we should talk about for the stream, or do you think that like we should start digressing now?
I think I could do a quick wrap up of like the updates that we have, because not everyone was here at the beginning.
Talk about give them some allusions to the new channel, and talk about Patreon, and talk about everything.
Yeah, I guess we could plug in our links. Here, let me pull up the link tree.
Also, you guys are doing a Q&A, and if it wouldn't take that long, I mean, I could answer some questions that was given to all of you guys.
That is true. Yeah, if everyone in the chat wants to leave questions for us while we talk about the upcoming things we have, feel free. I think I could pin this. Wait, how do I do that? Pin. Oh, shit.
Fucking fossil.
No, I'm not used to. Ah!
Doesn't know what computers are.
It never ends.
Oh, look, you turn on your monitor, make sure everything's plugged in.
Up!
You move your
press your start button.
It may not look like it, but this is how I show my love, okay?
Honestly, if I don't pick on you, I don't know how much we actually talk. That's like a good question. So keep that in mind.
This is the sign of good friendship when you can shit on each other.
Yeah, okay. So yeah.
You should know that as a shit
great
post.
Wolfiana. Our star Wolfiana. We should change our icon over to Wolfiana.
Oh,
specifically for Wolf.
We need more Wolfiana artwork.
No, we don't.
Fan art, uwu.
No.
We need
Time
to
to
take
become
a
an
photo of
artist.
your face.
I've been waiting just for this moment.
Send it to everybody, and then they'll just draw your head on Wolfiana.
Hell
yeah. God.
Alright, everybody. So, our current plans. All of our past readings for right now are on Spotify. There's a Linktree link in the chat that I posted. It's also on our YouTube channel, and it's on our Twitter as well. But you can go there to get all the old readings. I'm currently putting all the old audio back on YouTube. We're gonna have them in their 3-chapter chunks again, with the original thumbnails and everything. So those will be coming out this week instead of the videos, because I've had some life things happen, so I've been a little behind on editing, so sorry. But we're gonna try to restart 45 on Sunday, so we can go back to our regular schedule of Sunday, Monday. No, yeah? Sunday?
I think it was Sunday.
Monday, Thursday.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sunday, Monday,
Saturday?
Thursday. Yes.
Oh, okay, good
That's
one,
it.
sorry.
I just said it in the weird order. But yes.
It's actually technically Monday, Thursday, Sunday. But
Thank you. There we go. And then we have a couple of little like fun projects planned to post in between. We're probably gonna take a 2 to 3 week break after chapter 48, just so we can catch up with everything. And that's the end of that volume as well. Just to make sure all of our audio engineering's good and editing's good. There's a couple mistakes I made in the edits that were super small, minor, but you know, of course we're gonna notice it because we made it. And we want to make sure that all of our branding's good, and our Discord will be launched soon, not right now, but it's almost ready. Our VAs are in and getting prepped, and hopefully in the next couple days we'll make that announcement. Follow us on Twitter for the most updates, because it's the easiest to post there. And then we're still posting on YouTube, all that good stuff. We have a Patreon available. We have several tiers if you would like to support us consistently. We have 6 Patreons as we speak, so thank you, everyone. I don't think any of you are here right now, so I won't shout you out because I also don't know your handles. I don't want to dox you or anything.
Say their actual.
Say their real names.
Say their last names.
But I know one person.
Credit card numbers.
My friend Matt. So Matt, shout out to you for being our Witch Cult member. Thank you. We have.
This is Matt's Social Security.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have Royal Guards. We have Sin Archbishops, the Witch Cult, and then we also have our Wolfiana fan club, which is exclusive. Yes.
Very exclusive.
Exclusive.
You can check it out on our Linktree if you'd like to support us there. We also have our Streamlabs in our Twitch bio. Yeah, that's, I think, all of our plugs for our social links. Okay, now we can digress.
Indubitably.
Andre, no.
Oh no, Pablo's excited about the Wolfiana fan club. Fuck.
Oh my gosh, you guys are crazy. Oh man, it's nice just having the discussions again. You guys are usually going to pretty good points. I love the fact too. The thing about discussions is you don't always think you're gonna bring something, but Pat, Kanda, Kyles, you guys have shown the moment you start getting into the conversation, you have insights that we don't think about.
For sure.
That's true.
Yeah.
Even my running on being up for 29 hours has something to say. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane. You should sleep. You
Yeah,
probably
man.
should sleep now.
I told you to sleep earlier,
Well,
Kanda.
I mean, if I just stay up another 2 hours, right, then I'll go to bed at like 6:30, and then I can wake up at 6.
Okay.
Wait,
Kanda.
do I need to go get the sleepy bat? I can go grab the sleepy
Bonk,
bat.
bonk.
Dude, you're
You
gonna
better
make my
fucking
schedule
sleep.
worse.
Oh,
But hopefully, yeah. Anybody watching this later, just remember, if you want to get into part of the discussions, this is we want to hear what you have to say. Not everything needs to be correct too. Like, I don't say. Here's the thing too. Like, you got to think about this. I have Wolf and Golden here with me. Both these people know way more than I do about these conversations in general. I say a lot of stuff that does not match up to canon or whatever else. They don't get on me for it. They just explain. That's what they do.
No,
They just
also,
Like, just
we're
switch it up
not
every week, sure.
completely infallible too. We may say things that are misinterpreted or wrong as well.
Sure.
I'm sure we do that
well,
constantly.
Yeah,
We're
it's
friends.
called being human.
Get in here, darn it! Don't make me cry. We're friends.
We plan on having different groups of our VAs and casts cycle in every week, so it's not just the same people. This group makes the most sense because, one, most of us are project leads. Two, we've been in most of the chapters lately. Also, these guys answered me immediately, so.
Also, Pat is sexy.
Ooh,
Yes.
yeah.
See, Kanda agrees. Pat, I have told you, you are a sexy boy. Fucking
That's
accept
another
it.
person who plays
It's
Dynasty
strange.
Warriors that makes Pat a king.
Oh, and Lightning's here, I guess.
And it's strange
Oh,
getting all these
thank you. You're here
compliments
too.
and being in so little clothing.
Ooh.
Oh,
I forgot about
nude.
that.
Maybe we should make a Pat fan club too.
Oh my god.
Please don't.
Oh, new Patreon tier. Let's go.
Yeah, the Reinhardt date ASMR is gonna happen soon.
Yeah.
Oh
I can be like-
gosh.
You can be like, I'm only in my boxes.
I'm only in my
Allow me to
boxers.
get dressed.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Stop.
You know what's funny? I was actually eating a sausage cheese
Oh no.
bread before this, and I was gonna say something, but I didn't want to set Pat off for too long as I read Andre's
And
message.
yeah, that's what you're about to do right now.
I always get Vietnam flashbacks when I eat a sausage roll now.
You
I-
eat them
I-
often
I-
too.
I know, I derailed that stream so hard.
If anyone has that stream, feel free
was
to.
a
There
lot.
Oh,
he goes.
no.
You know what the worst part about that was? I was completely uninvolved, and when I go to look, all I see is sausages. Nothing but sausages. I look at
sausages, Mr. Krabs.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my god.
He's like, what are they on? What are you guys doing? This is
Alright, we gotta stop. We gotta stop.
Pat's laugh is the most
$100
precious thing in the
for
world.
a
sausage with cheese,
That's
Mr.
the
Squidward.
Oh.
Whenever I think of sausages, I think of Pat now. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Sausage hub.
People are gonna lose their damn minds in this chat.
Can't wait till we get channel emojis and they're all just sausage.
They're
based.
just sausages.
The meme lives on. The meme lives on.
Think of the merch, Pat.
He's gonna go,
Yeah.
I have my holy sword. I was gonna put the dragon sword, but instead I have this sausage.
Oh my god. Man gets beaten to death by sausage.
Don't you draw your sword, Sword Saint? No, Elsa. I'm gonna draw this sausage.
I mean, he feasibly could kill someone with a sausage. He can make anything in his hands into a weapon.
Oh, Lord.
So to pay, we have a
Oh, no.
proposition for you.
That's how we're gonna know whether or not he watches these streams. One day he's gonna be like, don't worry, Subaru. I have this sausage.
They'll be at a party. It'll be like another knighting party or something. And there's just a whole scene with Felt going, here's a sausage. And just Reinhardt dying.
Reinhardt, show him what you can do. Okay, I guess I have to do it now.
No, the Subaru sees Reinhardt strike down a Sin Archbishop with a sausage. He's like, yo, I can do that too. He grabs the sausage, just explodes when he smacks it against the Sin Archbishop.
Oh my gosh. They're all in danger, and he's like, Reinhardt, here! Oh, a sausage. Great.
You just see like blue particles of light fucking explode out of it.
I'm kind of glad that I had to help out with the groceries so I could stand to not hear sausage talk for at least a minute.
Oh my gosh.
Sucks to suck.
I can see how you devolved. I can see how it devolved now. It was like an hour of you guys doing that. I just kept checking in and going, they're still talking about it. They haven't switched the subject.
That is the greatest result of Wolfiana, okay? That was my greatest achievement.
The best animatic. One of the best. There's so many good
Yeah.
animatics. Thank you, Willow.
I have
Thank
my
you,
head
Jace.
in my hand.
Oh yeah,
I
they're
watch them
amazing.
every day. They give me life. Hey
my
friends, we've
God.
hit 2 hours and 30 minutes on this first stream back.
Sometimes I forget
We
that somebody did fan
affiliated?
animations of our stupid antics, and it's
I
kinda like,
And
to
now
be honest with you,
you're
I even
with us.
forget.
yeah, bro.
I even forget we're streaming sometimes.
You
Yeah, that's why
always forget.
That's why I tried my hardest to steer the conversation away from that, because I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then you went degenerate while we were mid in. What did he say? What did you say, Gold? I forgot what joke you made.
Yeah, you made a dirty joke, Gold.
I was like, darn it, Gold.
When?
You made
It was in
something.
the
I can't remember
middle.
what it was.
I
It was
feel
in
like
the middle.
Andre's here, and when I put it on YouTube, they'll probably mark it for us.
Andre is like guru of remembering things.
Andre will just be on that.
Andre scares me sometimes of how good he is at this.
And Andre
Have
will
you
be
talked
jamming
to the
you
guy?
soon for modding.
Andre knows stuff about me that I don't even know about me.
So
Yes, sir,
think
that's
about it,
so
right?
Again.
Think about it. The person that Reinhardt faces that will force him to pull out his sword, they must be pretty powerful, right? But then what about the person that makes him pull out his sausage?
I guess he has to like that
You
person
thought about that.
very much.
That's why you muted. That's why you muted.
I mean, no.
No,
You can
my
still pull out the
parents
sausage
came
if he
in my
doesn't
room,
like it,
jackass.
Well, have you
Oh.
seen the Amelia X Reinhardt shit on Twitter? Holy
Oh my
crap!
Oh,
God.
it's been popping up. That's been
What are you
popping up
talking
a ton.
about?
Oh
Why
my
is
To be
that what you
fair-
think of when I mentioned Reinhardt pulling out a sausage?
Because that just came to mind. That's why.
Fair enough.
Reinhardt fan club owner, fan club president owner, KylesMigyles.
It's not me. It's not me. No, it's scary.
That would
Yeah.
be quite the plot twist. I mean,
God.
your name
Her
in the
closet
Zero
is just
server-
like
Yeah, I
the
mean,
door.
Didn't you guys do the one where it's like Amelia is like losing her mind, and then Reinhardt comes in, and it's like,
Oh yeah, we did agree to comic
Yeah,
dub. We still, I need to get permission from the artist because I don't know if Hollow actually got it or not. But I'll just double check with him because it's good. It's ready. Might just be audio.
we just don't know if we're allowed to use the stuff.
Yeah. But I think we
Yeah.
can. I think he got permission. That's why we did it in the first place. But yo, it's so good. I don't want to not post it. I screamed. That's wild. I
Look,
don't do
Kyles
that.
has a closet, right? And on the closet's door, it has a big picture of Rem, but that's just to
It's
trick
Rem.
people. Behind it is nothing but Reinhardt. They both start
No.
with R's.
Ooh,
Rem,
Rem.
Rem. There we go. See, they both have the same R-E. That's the code. That's what it is.
If they ain't Reinhardt, they ain't it.
They ain't it. My divine protection of sausage will save me.
Oh my
What?
God. What is that? Divine protection.
Emilia is so innocent, she has the divine protection of sausage killer.
Oh my gosh. I'm surprised how popular that one got, though. That one got pretty popular really fast. There's been a ton of artists on that.
There
Running
has
over
been.
that.
It's been scary.
Yeah. People really take that really seriously, I'm learning.
And it's always
Lot.
the
You're the
crowd
shipping.
that gets you. Ugh.
oh wait, is it that type of art?
It's that type of art, and that's all
I
it
was
is.
just talking about the art in general. There's a lot of wholesome ones. No, there's been wholesome ones. I've seen wholesome ones. I know what you're talking about, though. I completely know what you're talking about, but there's
Yeah.
wholesome ones, too.
I haven't seen anything
I
like
want
that.
to see the wholesome ones. That's what I want on my timeline.
Unfortunately, we don't get what we want in life.
Can't always get what you want.
At least this isn't DeviantArt.
True.
Oh god! Oh god!
Jesus.
Bro, when I used to do my old art, right, I used to have to sit on DeviantArt for about like 2 hours because I'd post up my art to groups. It's all things. Let me see them.
Terrifying.
Very, very terrifying. Site's gonna burn and then no one's gonna care. They're gonna be like, we didn't exist. Never see it again. It's fine. Oh my gosh. I was gonna say though, but they're both like basically kind of main. If they had their own isekais, they'd be their own main characters. kind of in a similar category, so it's not like the worst choice I've seen.
I feel like
Amelia
anyone...
technically is like a secondary main character at this stage, equivalent to Subaru to a certain degree.
If Subaru wasn't here, she would be the main character with more losses, so she'd be forced to mature faster.
What, Amelia?
Or she'd be dead.
She'd be dead.
Oh no, well, Tapei is kind of described ReZero as a story where Subaru's more the main character out of necessity. In reality, it's Amelia's story. It's just Subaru's following along.
Yep.
Well, thank you, everyone.
It's Final Fantasy X. That's what it is. That's the entire.
Oh,
it
does that
just
mean
so
Subaru
happens-
dies at the end?
It just no.
Yes.
Okay,
Spoiler.
come on.
He's gonna jump in the.
It just so happens that possibly Subaru may be like the 10 times more interesting character.
Whoa.
Oh, those are some
Final Fantasy
words.
X was like how many years ago was that now? Was Final Fantasy X 2001?
Yeah, probably.
It's like 19 years. You know the end of Final Fantasy X, that's on you, okay?
Well, I didn't know it,
Shade
but
and
now I
Tidus?
do.
Wow.
Oh, was
That's
that
very
Shade and
like-
Tidus?
Ha 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 ha.
Tidus is a great character, darn you, okay? He's got annoying moments, but they're
He is a
important
good
for the
character.
plot.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Darn it. Not everybody can be Cloud Strife, okay? Not everyone can be Cloud.
Just like they said, Yuna's the main character of those games.
Yeah.
Oh, who would win in a fight, Sephiroth or Reinhardt, without Reinhardt's crazy divine protection?
Sephiroth.
Sephiroth. Yeah. Sephiroth.
Sephiroth
Will
wins.
lead.
But that's what she
Only
said.
loses.
But no, because that's just saying like, oh, what if Reinhardt could fight this person, but what if he had all of his powers taken away? Would he still win?
No, it's fair. It's fair. Here's like someone brought this up, right? I think it was Seth the programmer. It was like if Goku and Naruto fought, but like had no difference in power, who would win? Naruto. That's not even a hard question. Goku's a great martial artist, but he doesn't have all the other crap. I think it's still valid.
I also think like if he was to fight Sephiroth, and we have absolutely no idea what capabilities Reinhardt's sword has, if he could draw a sword against Sephiroth, like is that sword even more powerful? Like does that make him pretty much invincible? Would he just like wipe the floor with Sephiroth?
Oh, wait, look, I have a counter, right? Sephiroth's sword is longer, he has more reach, he wins. He never draw it. There you go. Still the problem. Questions you need to know.
He has more reach. That just means if someone has a longer weapon, they win.
So we just don't give Reinhardt a longer sword, or don't make that sword any longer, or hope it doesn't.
Does he still get Dragon
Sword
Sword Ride? Because if Sephiroth's a worthy opponent, then he can just draw
Then
that.
he's more likely gonna get bodied. I'd say more likely.
Yeah.
The sword probably has hacks. Yeah, he's probably gonna get.
Oh, the sword has hacks, all right. It melted Puck.
Because I would say what Sephiroth's basically like a god at one point at the very end of the story. He only loses to Cloud because he's too cocky.
Well, doesn't
He's
that just make it so he's definitely worthy of the blade being drawn against him? So he's definitely dead. Because at some point, if your power threshold is so high,
I mean, we shouldn't spoil Final Fantasy VII because people are going to be experiencing Final Fantasy VII from the remake.
Bro, actually true. I will actually shut up. Yeah. Never mind. I was gonna bring up Dissidia crap. Dissidia is different. But
yeah, it's a bit different.
Good point. In Dissidia, everyone's always like, "Wow, you're like a legend." And he's just like, "I know." And that's basically how that goes to everybody. The only person who's ever like, oh man, we're an even challenge, and it made the power scaling really weird, was Jekt. Jekt's the only time where they're like, wow, that guy's just as strong as you. But we don't really have any feats for that, other than him being like, supposedly like a super crazy athlete in his younger years and junk. But that's about it. Did Dissidia power scaling on a
Yeah, okay.
From sausages to Sephiroth versus Reinhardt to like I already talked about that stupid Gohan and ReZero fanfiction. Fanfictions get so weird. They just want overpowered character in Subaru's position, which is just gonna ruin the whole point of the plot.
Well, I'm just always like, what's the point? It's not interesting.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
What if it was Goku? Then he would instant transmission to every problem that he had, punch whoever it is, they would die instantaneously, we win. Story's over.
Wow, good.
I said Rem, X,
Rem, always.
Gohan, Y. I mean, too, like, it's not like the characters in ReZero aren't already strong as it is. That kind of like... It's like, that was one of my favorite parts of the video I made, was the fact that Rem survived the whale for so long. Subaru was knocked out while Rem was fighting the whale.
Yeah.
He didn't lose, they didn't lose memory
you
of
see
Rem.
That icicle she
was
used?
conscious.
Oh, Rem.
Yeah.
I miss her
It's
so
tough.
much.
kind of puts context.
Who?
Like, it's still terrible that
I
she-
hate
oh
that
my
stupid
gosh.
fucking joke.
Get it? Isn't it funny, Kyles?
I want to
This is
punch
funny.
you, Gold.
Rem is
Rem
mid. Okay, Kyles. I'm sorry.
No, she's not. She's
She's
S+.
mid.
She's S+. I don't
No, she
care.
ain't.
Just-
Potato Rem is good.
Ram
that's
is pretty cool, but Ram is
Yeah.
much better.
Yeah, Ram is
Oh,
10
you know
times
what's
better.
It was a waifu everybody missed out on. Echidna with a nose.
Oh
Oh,
my
that,
God.
that really tested people.
Get her
That gave me trauma when I first saw that.
Thought, you know,
She
in the
was so
flashback when
different.
she turns around. No, when she turns around in the flashback, she looked cute.
No,
She looked like a door.
No, I'm just like, look, it's a MILF!
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Of course
We
you
need-
would.
Yes,
We need to
no.
end it. We need to end this stream before it gets
Oh
worse.
no, more degenerate. Let's go. I know, Kanda, you probably have something to say. You can do this. Save us,
No.
Kanda.
Conda's so
I have
tired.
nothing anymore.
Oh.
Oh, I have nothing.
Any final
Anymore.
I
statements?
have
everyone?
nothing left to give.
My final statement
I
is
have
that.
found the perfect end. You
Okay, I
were
need to stop.
made to
We need to stop.
make it hurt. Disappear into the dirt.
Oh my god.
Bury me with heaven's
He's not
arms.
Kanda.
I
Sing it.
that he's singing
Why are you
well.
singing?
I'm getting my phone out.
My breath.
I'm waving it,
I
chat.
will end where I began.
So deep.
And Kanda was like, oh yeah, my voice isn't suited for singing. Sings amazingly.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
Sing it,
literally
Kanda.
incredible.
It's actually really good.
Cause I can feel it crawl beneath my skin. Dear
Oh,
agony.
The only one who
She's
knows.
Just
We're about
let
to end,
go
that's what's happening.
of me.
He's the only one who knows.
Slowly.
Alright, everybody.
This
Time to say
the way it's
goodbye.
gotta be.
Thank you all for joining the stream, and we will catch you all next time. Bye bye. Stop the stream. Cut it off.
Goodbye, everybody. This will be uploaded to YouTube later today.
And we will shame Kanda for the rest of his life.
And we're also
I've had to end
Not
the
for his
streams
awesome
like this,
singing,
like 10
but
times.
for
in a row.
the weird screaming at the end.
You're the
Benjamin's
real
coming
MVP,
after us.
Gold.
Even in our streams beforehand, I've had to do this.
Hey, at least we're consistent.
Oh, that was amazing.
Thank you,
Cheers.
everyone, for coming out. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Sayonara. Oh wait.
Bye.
Ja
Whatever.
matane.